Good afternoon, everybody. 7 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 on a hot one out there. Already 94 degrees at 3:08. So, I mean, it's a little unpleasant, but at least it's a moist heat. No, that doesn't make it any better, does it? No, not a bit.
I don't think so. No.
No. Well, anyway, you try to stay cool, and while you're staying cool, calm, and collected, I will try to bring you some news and information. Hopefully, on your drive home tonight, you'll learn something. And as you get home, you'll walk in the house, and you'll be the smartest person in the room. You will have said, well, I just learned this, and then you'll spout some bit of wisdom and knowledge that was imparted on this program to you. So
I walked into a room one time, thought I was the smartest person there, and then I noticed the dog laying in the corner. I'm like, better luck next time.
Well, listen, there's no chance of my dog being smarter than me. I got the dumbest dog there ever was. I love her, but she's just not very bright. All right, I want to start off the show here today with a discussion of what those people at the highest court in the land, the SCOTUS people, what are they up to? The Supremes. Well, today, they jump right smack dab in the middle of the fight over transgender rights, agreeing to hear an appeal from the Biden administration seeking to block state bans on what the left likes to call gender-affirming care. I don't like that term. I think, the Democrats are great at trying to win the battle by winning the battle over language. It's not, some people look at this thing as tragic mutilation of children. But no, the Democrats call it gender-affirming care. I don't like that term. I don't think it's a fair and balanced term. So the justices' action comes as Republican-led states, including the state of Tennessee. This is really aimed at the state of Tennessee, but there are some 25 Republican-led states where they have actually pushed some sort of legislation very similar to what Tennessee has done. So there's a lot of people watching this, even though it seems that the Tennessee case is very much in the crosshairs of the Supreme Court in this matter. The case before the High Court, according to Associated Press, involves a law in Tennessee that restricts puberty blockers and hormone therapy for transgender minors. The federal appeals court in Cincinnati allowed laws in Tennessee and Kentucky to take effect after they had been blocked by lower courts. And the High Court did not act on a separate appeal from Kentucky. They decided to take the Tennessee case as the one they wanted to look at most closely. And you're hearing from transgendered teens in Tennessee who say, without this court's prompt intervention, transgender youth and their families will remain in limbo, uncertain of whether and where they can access needed medical care. Well, South Carolina became the 25th state to adopt a law restricting or banning what some call gender-affirming medical care for transgender minors, even though such treatments had been available in the United States for more than a decade and were endorsed by major medical associations. That is true. I would say that I think that we are a bit behind, though, what is going on when you talk to look at what is being decided in Europe, where they've been doing this a lot longer than they have in the United States. They have come to decide that it's probably not a good idea. There are many medical studies that come in from Europe that suggest not a good idea to begin this kind of treatment from youth because it is a sometimes irreversible thing. Certainly, if you begin doing surgeries, it is irreversible. Most of the state restrictions face lawsuits, and justice had previously allowed Idaho to generally enforce its restrictions after it had been blocked by a lower court. So this is very much going to be not something that's decided, I think, this term, be decided next term. It's way on down the line, but it is interesting. Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti, says he looks forward to fighting the case in the Supreme Court. We fought hard to defend Tennessee's law protecting kids from irreversible gender treatments and secured a thoughtful and well-reasoned opinion from the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. I look forward to finishing the fight in the United States Supreme Court. The case will bring much-needed clarity to whether the Constitution contains special protections for gender identity. Tennessee House Majority Leader William Lamberth, Republican of Portland, the original sponsor of the bill, signed into law by the governor, said he and the Tennessee State Majority Leader Jack Johnson have faith in Skrmetti's defense of the law. Said Leader Johnson, Leader Johnson and I carried, said William Lamberth, Leader Johnson and I carried this bill to protect minors from these barbaric medical procedures, and we succeeded in the legislative process. We always knew liberals would try to use the court to undo a strong law protecting kids, but I have faith the Tennessee Attorney General will be successful in defending this law at the highest court of the land. Leader Johnson, Jack Johnson, says, I'm proud of the work we've done to protect Tennessee children, and I'm grateful SCOTUS is taking up this important piece of legislation. It was an honor to sponsor the bill with William Lamberth, and I'll do it 1,000 times over. This reporting brought to you by the Tennessee Star. That's their take on it. So there you have it, a Tennessee case. Listen, why is this important? Number one, I think it is important because, I think that when you talk about what the Tennessee folks did, the Tennessee state legislature did, and the votes that they carried out, which again was signed into law by the governor, what they were doing is they were saying, look, we do a lot of things to protect young children. We have seatbelt laws. We have, you have to put a baby in a child carrier, and be sure that they're safe. There's all kinds of things we do in the law to protect children. This is not saying that these kind of surgeries are outlawed. They're just outlawed, and these kind of treatments are outlawed until you become an adult, until you were old enough to really perhaps understand what you're going through and what might happen. So I have always been in favor of these kinds of laws. Again, if you become an adult in the eyes of the law and you still feel like this is something you want to go through, knock yourself out. But we ought to give kids time to sort of work through it, because a lot of kids, go in and there are a lot of kids who go through the process early on and then regret it later. At least let them be of adult age before we move on. That's all the law says. So the Supreme Court taking that up is pretty interesting. We'll see how that's going to go. The Supreme Court, by the way, still has 6 very big blockbuster rulings that need to be issued before they can go out at the end of the month. Generally, the end of the month is when the high court ends its term. And there's a lot of stuff out there. Number one, I think the big one is immunity, presidential immunity. Here from thehill.com, sort of an explanation of that. The nation is bracing for high-stakes Supreme Court decisions this week on former President Trump's argument that he is immune from prosecution as a former commander-in-chief. The case could have significant impact on how former presidents may be held to account for any criminal actions they take while in office, and is among 14 cases the court must still decide this term. While it's possible the decision could be delayed until early July, a decision this week would fall as the first presidential debate is scheduled for Thursday and just weeks before the GOP convention in Milwaukee. Now, what is this all about? The case leaves the high court considering the extent presidential immunity can shield a former executive from conduct during their time in office. Trump, during his April arguments, asked the court to embrace a sweeping immunity argument, asserting that a president has absolute immunity for official acts while in office, and this immunity applies after leaving office. He and his counsel argue the protections cover his efforts to prevent the transfer of power after he lost the 2020 election. He didn't, I don't think, really block anything, but there were some things that he did out there to make sure that he felt like the election had been conducted with integrity. But to each their own description, I suppose. Special counsel Jack Smith has argued that only sitting presidents enjoy immunity from criminal prosecution, and that the broad scope Trump proposes would give a free pass to criminal conduct. So that is a big deal. And that is perhaps the biggest case that we're waiting on to see exactly what might happen there. But there are, as I said, still 6 big blockbuster rulings. I'm not going to go through all 6, but I do think there's one really interesting case. I'm fascinated by this, and if you understand anything at all about how the federal government works, you know something about the Chevron doctrine. Yeah, it's been named on a case that involved the company Chevron. The Supreme Court will rule on a 40-year doctrine known as the Chevron doctrine. The precedent dictates that courts should defer to executive branch agencies when it comes to interpreting laws when Congress's intent in passing the law is unclear. Now, the way I see this happening is many times you get a president that doesn't like a certain ruling or a certain policy that's in place or a certain law that has been passed, and they say, well, to our reading of the law, Congress was unclear about that, so the agency, under the direction of whichever president is in charge at that time, be it Democrat or Republican, they go back and say, well, we interpret this law this way. And then if somebody challenges them, they have to come up against the Chevron doctrine, which says courts should defer to executive branch agencies if the intent of Congress is unclear, and the cases rarely go anywhere. Under the 1984 doctrine, U.S. courts gave great leeway to agencies such as the EPA and the Securities and Exchange Commission regarding the powers delegated to them by Congress to administer the law. And so now we have a case where that is being reexamined. And if they overturn the Chevron doctrine, which I hope and pray that they do, well, then when Congress passes a law, you won't have to give such deference to an agency that says, we disagree with the way this law has been interpreted in the past. We interpret it this way, and you have a constantly changing field. And it really takes away the power from some of these agencies to legislate through their executive or their how do I want to put it, their regulations and their interpretation of how law should be carried out. So there you have that. I hope that'll be a good one. Again, the immunity case is a big one. There's a limited abortion case that will be brought up, and an obstruction statute, a January 6th obstruction statute that could have a real impact on some of the J6 cases that are still out there. Right now, it is 20 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. Oh, the good folks at Busy Bee, they know this is the time of year where, sometimes you set that thermostat and you wake up and it's just not blowing cold air. The air conditioner's not, and you need a little help. Well, why don't you call the number I would call, 615-775-7833. That's the number to Busy Bee HVAC and Plumbing, and they will buzz right over to your house, and they will get you back up and running, get your air conditioner blowing nice and cool again. Now, if you find somehow that it's just, that system has just run out. They're not meant to last forever. If you get 20 years out of a air conditioning system, you're doing pretty good. And they do wear out eventually. So, why don't you then think about getting your system replaced by the folks at Busy Bee? And they got a deal for you, up to 12 months, no interest, no payment, with approved credit on things that have to do with HVAC replacement. If you have a plumbing project, a big one, you get up to 15 months. They have all kinds of things they'll do. For example, right now, if you were to call and say, hey, Busy Bee, my air conditioner's not working, they will waive their $89 dispatch fee while they come out and repair and get you back up and running. 10% off all indoor air quality products. Plumbing, $500 off select tankless water heaters, $500 off upright S&C water heaters as well, 15% off a whole home drain repipe, and they will run a drain video inspection. If you got problems and things aren't quite flowing the way they should, they came out and did that for me. It's very cool. $99 for that. And if you need your water heater flushed, which is a good thing to do now and then, $79 for that. Listen, they are a good company. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your official Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833, online at busybehvac.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Two hearings in Florida today on Donald Trump's classified documents case and scammers targeting travelers, and they're using a new tool to take your money. We'll have those stories at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay Harper, conducting all kinds of official business back there in the little news cubicle. We appreciate you, Jay. And there behind the glass with all the plinky buttons is our good friend Chris Weber, and he's carrying and doing the things that he does to keep me in line. And it's a full-time job, ladies and gentlemen. It's all he can do. Just to keep me. I know. I wear you out. I wear you to a nub at times. I am excited about the event that's going to take place on Thursday. It will happen starting at 3 o'clock. This show will come to you live from Hop Springs and Murfreesboro. And then I'll go till about 6 o'clock. And then I had a conversation with the program director, Paul Mason.
Mm-hmm.
He's a nice guy.
He is, yeah.
He's a very nice fellow. And so I talked to him, and he said that, then everybody can kind of crash the boards and join me from 6 to 7, and then 7 to 8, and then the debate begins at 8 o'clock. Now, there may be another announcement coming with regard to this, but it's not mine to make yet. I can't say it, but I think it might be good news.
Okay.
So there.
All right.
Hop Springs, Murfreesboro. This is it's going to be a humdinger, and I want to talk about the debate in the next hour. And how do you think Trump should handle it? Should he go in with all guns blazing, or should he just sort of lay back, do the rope-a-dope, and let Biden just sort of hang himself with his stupidity and his inability to, carry and his proclivity for getting facts absolutely 100% wrong? Do you just kind of lay back and let him make those mistakes? I think the last time those two got together, well, the first time they got together, it was Trump came in there, loaded for bear, and it really was a little too aggressive, and it didn't bode well for him. And then the second one he sort of pulled back. There's no need for him to go in there and go in there with guns blazing, because in this particular case, this president that we have right now, he'll hang himself if you just give him enough rope. I mean, that's the way I would look at it. So go in, I think, a little lower key than he is traditionally known for doing. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but that's sort of my thinking about it. But it's going to be a debate. I mean, really, honestly, a lot of people think this will decide the presidency right here. Because if Biden gets in there and we get, the Joe Biden who can't remember the name of his Secretary of Homeland Security.
My name's Joe Biden. I'm Jill Biden's husband. Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure I'm going to introduce you all the way.
I mean, come on. If that guy shows up, then it's over for Biden. I mean, it really is. And even Democrats will tell you. So the question is, what's going on? What's going on out there at Camp David right now? What kind of things are they pumping him full of so he'll be ready for the debate? Will he show up like, the guy who can't remember his Secretary of Homeland Security's name, this guy? Or do we get the angry Joe Biden from the State of the Union address where he seemed to be hopped up on something? I don't know. We'll see. But one way or the other, it's going to be a great gathering at Hop Springs in Murfreesboro. Find out all the details at 997WTN.com, and we hope to see you there. I think we're going to have a pretty good turnout. Because, I mean, people are, it's going to be fun hanging with people who kind of look the world the way you do and sit down and watch this thing, kind of like going, as somebody said, to a sports bar. If you go, it's a lot more fun to watch sports with people who are rooting for the team, right? Well, I mean, it's the same kind of thing in a debate. I think you'll have a good time, and I hope you'll join us. Right now, it's time to do a little news at 3:30 on Super Talk.
Yes, it is 3:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Plenty of sunshine. It's a hot one, 94 degrees. A forecast and a traffic report are coming up. In Florida, a couple of hearings today in federal court on Donald Trump's handling of classified documents. The judge considering dismissing the case altogether based on the defense argument that special counsel Jack Smith was unlawfully appointed. The judge is also weighing the prosecution's request for a limited gag order on the former president. ABC's Catherine Falders is in Florida.
He's asking for a gag order over Trump's statements as it relates to FBI agents, law enforcement involved in the case. He has claimed without any evidence that the Biden administration was trying to assassinate him when they came and searched his home in August 2022 to retrieve those classified documents. Special counsel Jack Smith has said that rhetoric is dangerous. It poses an imminent threat to law enforcement.
Just no real details on when that judge may rule. Well, there's always somebody out there looking to steal your money, and if you're looking to travel, you got a new scam to be aware of using a new tool. Here's ABC's Alex Stone to explain.
With the growth of AI-generated content, more people are falling victim to scams. Booking.com says it's seen a 900% rise in travel-related scams, like AI-generated reviews, fake photos of places to visit, and phishing emails that look real but steal your money when you book a trip. Amy Kolsky fell victim to a scam.
I was very disappointed, but the thing is that I fell for it because of the reviews.
Experts say question online reviews and don't click on links and even authentic-looking emails.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they're on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
And right now, 94 degrees in Middle Tennessee. The clock is ticking on Genesis Diamond's amazing finance offer. You have until this Sunday to take advantage of the hottest offer this summer, 5 years, 0 interest financing. You get in now and splurge, maybe treat yourself. Planning to propose, get that stunning designer engagement ring starting as low as $67 a month. Or a 3-carat lab-grown center diamond, just $99 a month. Pick any item, then divide the price by 60, and that is your payment. People have driven for hours to take advantage of this, so don't put it off for another minute. Buy that pre-owned Rolex or that designer ring or just a simple diamond pendant. Get the incredible price Genesis is famous for, then spread your payments over 5 years, 0.0% interest. It's just insane, really. It's the smartest, easiest, and best way to buy. Nothing down, no interest for 5 years. But hurry, this incredible offer ends Sunday. That's right, Sunday afternoon, and will not be extended. Only at Genesis Diamonds, 2 locations, Green Hill and Cool Springs, on approved credit. Get more details at genesisdiamond.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It is 38 minutes past the hour. No doubt when we have this debate, one of the things will come up is Joe Biden's border policy and how it has made this country so much more dangerous. And we have some pretty heinous crimes that have been the focus of some media attention. First of all, we had this individual by the name of Christian Giovanni Ingolandi, and that was in Queens, New York, who was Ecuadorian. Caught in 2021 in Eagle Pass, released in February of 2022. A judge ordered him deported. Last Thursday, police say he raped a 13-year-old girl in New York. Then you got Victor Martinez Hernandez, who has appeared in a Maryland court. And he is now, again, he came in from El Salvador illegally. The fourth time he slipped into the country undetected. Now charged with the murder of Rachel Morin in Maryland. She went out for a run last August, and her body was found on a trail the following day as sexually assaulted and beaten. Took some time for police to track down that individual. Now there is another case like this in Houston, that of a 12-year-old Houston girl who was murdered. Her name was 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungary, and this happened last week. Now we have an individual who is in court, and his bail has been set at $10 million. Wow, I wish our Nashville judges would set bond like that time to time. Franklin Jose Peña Ramos and Johan Jose Rangel Martinez have been charged with capital murder. Peña Ramos, who appeared Monday at Harris County Criminal Court, was determined by the judge to be a flight risk and was told that if he posts bail, he has to wear a GPS monitor and remain under house arrest, among other restrictions. I doubt that he's going to be able to post a $10 million bail, but we'll see what happens. It's a very sad story. Here's some of the local reporting out of Houston. This is the NBC affiliate in Houston.
Tonight, 2 Venezuelan migrants are under arrest in Houston, charged with murdering 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungaray.
He took away my firstborn. I was a teen mom. She's who helped me grow, mature.
Immigration authorities say the suspects crossed the border illegally earlier this year and were released into the U.S. by the Border Patrol. Police say the men strangled Jocelyn and dumped her body in a creek. Her mother is devastated.
Nobody deserves to lose a child. No one deserves to bury their child. It's hard.
Well, the mother appeared in court today and spoke more about the loss of her 12-year-old daughter in this heinous crime.
She had such a bright future ahead of her, and I knew she was going to go very far. I know she's going to make a difference in this world for all children, and now it's my job to make sure it continues to happen.
Well, again, this is what happens when you have wide open borders and you're not checking any kind of background checks on these people, or you don't have enough time to do a complete background check, or they come from a country where the country does not allow the documents to be handed over to U.S. authorities. And so, it seems like in some of these places, it really is the case that these countries are just emptying out their jails and saying, "Oh, you can get out of jail now, but you got to go to America." Thank you so much for that. The border situation, no doubt, will come up. And already you got Democrats out there trying to sort of make the arguments to make this a less of a burden on Biden. Here is Elizabeth Warren doing battle with Martha Raddatz on ABC News.
There have been more than 6.9 million apprehensions at the southern border thus far. In Biden's term, there were just over 2 million in Donald Trump's entire term. What did the president do wrong?
No, this isn't about what the president did wrong. Remember, on the very first day that he was sworn into office, President Biden asked Congress both for the resources and for comprehensive immigration reform. The Republicans blocked it.
Donald Trump didn't have that either, Senator. He didn't have that either, and there were 2 million.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. Martha Raddatz has just nailed her to the wall on that. Okay, so you're saying that this happened, and it's because Congress didn't act. Well, Trump had the same situation. He didn't have Congress who would act for him. He didn't need it. He did what he needed to do by executive order, and it was Biden who rolled back those executive orders and opened up the border. It is all on him, but they keep making this fallacious argument that look, it would all been better if we couldn't do what we needed to do because Congress wouldn't act. Republicans in Congress wouldn't act. That is such unadulterated. I mean, honestly, that is the weakest argument ever. And Donald Trump had it under control. I mean, as Martha Raddatz points out, during his entire presidency, you had 2 million people who came across the border. Already, we have, I think that number, 6 million, is much lower. I think it's about 8 million. 8 million people who came across. Then you got the gotaways and the known gotaways and the unknown gotaways. I mean, I think that number is very low. But they keep making this argument, well, that's because the Republicans wouldn't work with us. Well, you know what? The Republicans would have worked with you if you'd have come up with something that was more than just sort of putting a Band-Aid on it and sending, they wanted more judges to process the paperwork faster. They wanted more people to go down there and be guards. You hear Elizabeth Warren even say that.
His entire term. Until last fall, the president tries to deal with the problem that is presented to him. He can't deal with it if Congress and the Republicans continue to block him. And so the president is using the tools available to him, both to create border security, but he doesn't have the resources because the Republicans are blocking access.
But he is president. Understood. I do think you've made your point. But poll after poll, as Matt Rivers just pointed out, say that this is a very weak poll number for President Biden. Trump surpasses him by 17 points in trust and working the border.
I understand that. And I understand that the president is doing what he can with the resources available to him. But you know as well as I do that he can't manufacture more judges. He can't manufacture more guards.
See, that's what they want. They want more judges to process the thing and to process the paperwork and get people into the country quicker. And they want more guards, but they don't want people. They don't want to actually tighten up the border. And that's always been the problem here. It's just ludicrous for them to make the argument that this is somehow a Republican problem. And I think Americans are much smarter than that. They're not falling for this. They know exactly what. Look, we know that there wasn't a problem when Trump was in place, and he had certain executive orders that he put in place that kept the border relatively under control. Not completely, but relatively under control. And then Biden, day one, rolls it all back and then says, well, you've got to do something to stop this problem that I created. He created the problem. There was no problem before then.
If Congress doesn't give him the resources to do that. The president is out there doing everything he can, not just at the border, but overall for families. And the action he took in this last week is exactly Joe Biden being Joe Biden. Think for just a minute about what it means for 500,000 families that little kids go off to school in the morning and they don't have to worry about whether or not mom or dad is still going to be part of their family when they get home.
And what about the border that you were so concerned about a couple of weeks ago? The first question I ask you, are you less concerned now?
No.
Martha Raddatz held her own there. She didn't let her get away with murder there like they usually do. From townhall.com, how the media has downplayed Biden's border crisis. For years, the liberal media has denied the crisis at the southern border, only to later blame Republicans for the problem that Biden created. Left-leaning outlets also went out of their way to hide the immigration status of illegal immigrants who committed crimes such as murder against Americans. For example, the Associated Press left out a key detail about the illegal immigrant who killed a 12-year-old Houston girl this week. In their original article on the incident, AP purposefully left out the fact that the two Hispanic men who murdered Jocelyn Nungaray were illegal immigrants from Venezuela who illegally crossed the southern border in March. In another instance, when Georgia nursing student Laken Riley was killed by a Venezuelan illegal alien in February, media outlets purposely left out the fact that the man had entered the U.S. illegally. Several outlets such as CBS and CNN didn't mention that he was an illegal immigrant until several paragraphs deep into the article. They certainly didn't give it in any of the headlines where most people get their news. The media has not only ignored Biden's border crisis, but has also tried to deceive Americans into believing it's a lie being peddled by Republicans. I mean, honestly, I think most Americans have looked at this and they are absolutely, clear on who caused the problem. We didn't have a problem when Trump was there. Day one, Biden rolls back all of the policies that Trump had put in place and then complained about the problem and said, well, I need Congress to help me. And then he put forth ideas that Republicans in Congress simply could not accept. And that, then he continues to let the problem go. For practice sake, they don't consider it a problem. They consider it a positive. All these people coming across the border, they believe it's a positive thing because, one day they hope to take all these people who've come here illegally, find them a pathway to citizenship and have them start voting for Democrats. That is what this is all about. I don't care what they say. That's really what it's all about. They want to find a pathway and change the voting demographics of America for a long time. And I think Americans see that. I think Americans are aware of that. And I'm telling you, for them to try to say that this is a Republican problem. I hope this comes up in a big way in the debate. I would love to know how Biden is going to defend himself. He'll probably say the same old things. Well, I couldn't get any Republicans to work with me. He'll probably say, Trump didn't want us to have a solution. All of that, if you come up with a solution that was feasible, something, and he says, and by the way, it really, if you want to call it a bipartisan proposal that came forward out of the Senate, that's really not fair either. There was one Republican, Lankford of Oklahoma. I don't know what the hell he was thinking about. He was the only one that was in support of this idea that Chuck Schumer and Democrats came up with. One Republican. That's not making it a bipartisan measure. So, I hope that it comes up, and I hope Trump is ready for that to sort of bat that away in very quick order. But even if he doesn't, I think the American people have it completely figured out. 50 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. You've heard me say it before. The chairman of the Federal Reserve has said that we're on an unsustainable fiscal path. We aren't going to pay off the $34 trillion debt anytime soon. And you knew what the government will do. They'll print money to pay interest on the debt, and thereby they'll weaken the American dollar. Maybe it's time to make another kind of investment. Maybe you've thought about adding gold or other precious metals to your portfolio, but you don't have the knowledge you need to make a smart decision. Honestly, that's the way I felt, but I got the professional guidance I needed at Nashville Golden Coin. This is the way it works. You make an appointment, and then you sit down one-on-one with my friends at Nashville Golden Coin. They'll answer all your questions, help you make the precious metals investment that is right for you. It's friendly, you will learn a bunch, and you will never be subjected to a high-pressure sales pitch. Gold and silver can be a safe haven in uncertain economic times, and my friends at Nashville Golden Coin are standing by to answer all your questions about the precious metals market. And if you have old coins laying around gathering dust, you bring them along. You're going to be surprised how much they might be worth. To set up that one-on-one appointment, just go to NashvilleGoldenCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldenCoin.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
The U.S. and Israel continue to dispute one another over arms shipments. We'll have a very sad ending to a hiker search and a Nashville couple facing charges over their children testing positive for illegal drugs. Those stories and more coming up at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, 57 minutes past the hour. Let's take a look at the markets right now. Dow Jones Industrial up 260 points. The S&P down about 16, mostly flat. NASDAQ down almost 200 points, 192 points. That's about 1%. So mixed boards today, a little red, a little green. So what's driving the market? Let's check in with John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management. Good afternoon, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, you're right. Mixed boards, the big one, though, on the NASDAQ down a little over 1% today. We've heard so much about NVIDIA this year. NVIDIA was down almost 6.7% just today. It's down 13% since it hit an all-time high. So that's dragging the NASDAQ down. It's now in correction territory. This is a big week for the Fed and really all the conversation that we've had around inflation and interest rate hikes, or is the Fed going to cut? We've got a couple of really interesting reports coming out later this week, new home sales, but on Friday we're going to have the Fed's favorite inflation gauge, which is the PCE index. A lot of back and forth about whether they're going to do rate cuts in July or later in the year, so we'll know that a little bit later this week, at least a better gauge.
All right. Thank you, John. To find out about all the things that John Maxon and all the good people at Beacon Capital Management can do for you to help you get ready for retirement, just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. 59 minutes past the hour. You know, there are no pills or spinal creams that can magically open up your spinal disc and take the pressure off your nerves. You have two choices, basically, because that's what it is. Back pain is pressure on your nerves. You can undergo surgery, or you can try an alternate plan, non-invasive spinal decompression. Now, I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Their state-of-the-art facilities have the latest and high-tech equipment. The latest non-surgical procedures are performed there. So getting better is important to Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, and they are offering half off the price of spinal decompression treatments and half off the price of a KT knee machine treatment. That's sort of like spinal decompression, but it's really aimed for the knee. It gently elongates the knee so that the healing treatment can get deep within your knee joint. And if you're a new patient, here you go. Listen to this. Your exam, your consultation, your first treatment, x-rays if you need them, only going to cost you about $23. So that's a great deal for you if you are a new patient. I'm Brian Wilson. I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Call them today, 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Good afternoon. It is 1 minute past 4 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Plenty of sunshine, still hot here at 4 o'clock, 94 degrees, a full forecast and another traffic report. They are just minutes away. The Pentagon says Israel's complaints of multiple delayed weapon shipments just aren't true. ABC's Andy Field, he's got the latest from Washington.
Early this month, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said it's inconceivable that the Biden administration has been
withholding weapons and ammunition to Israel.
The Pentagon saying it's inconceivable because it's not true. A spokesman saying they've only paused one shipment to Israel and the other security has arrived as normal. The U.S. has been under pressure to hold arms shipments until Israel ends its war in Gaza.
Moving out to the West Coast, a sad ending to the search for a missing hiker in San Diego.
Diem Nguyen went on a hike with family on Sunday but disappeared when she continued on after the rest of her group turned around. Her family got a phone call from Nguyen saying she was very hot and needed water. A large search effort got underway. On Monday, this announcement from San Diego Police Lieutenant Daniel Meyer.
Did find a deceased body, a Asian female.
The body was found not far away from a neighborhood. He says she almost made it out.
That's ABC's Alex Stone reporting. Moving a little further up the coast to Los Angeles, where the mayor, Karen Bass, is meeting with the police chief of L.A. in response to violence between pro-Palestinian and pro-Israeli protesters. We have more now from ABC's Blake Trolley.
Fights broke out between pro-Palestinian protesters and pro-Israeli protesters. Rabbi David Revov of Addis Torah says pro-Palestinian protesters blocked people from trying to enter his synagogue yesterday.
People were scared to come in. People prevented to come in. We had to sneak our members inside.
Mayor Bass says the blocking of the synagogue was abhorrent and that she's directed increased patrols around places of worship and the Pico Robertson neighborhood. At least one protester who police say had a spiked flag was arrested.
Back here in Nashville, a mother and father facing charges for what happened to their two very young children near Ellington Parkway and East Trinity Lane over the weekend.
Channel 4 says the arrest affidavit shows it was the mother, 31-year-old Vicky Easley, who flagged down officers claiming she needed an ambulance for her children, ages 1 and 3, because they'd come into contact with cocaine. Medics arrived. They told police the 1-year-old had all the signs: elevated heart rate, enlarged pupils, extremely fidgety. Both of the children testing positive at Vanderbilt. Officers searched the couple's car and claimed to have found 2 baggies that tested positive for cocaine, which the parents claimed was not theirs. They said there had been a lot of other people in and out of the car recently, but they later tested positive and were charged with child abuse. Bond was set at $260,000. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Good afternoon. 8 minutes now past the hour. 4 o'clock, hour number 2 now beginning here on Super Talk 99.7 on a very warm June 24th afternoon. It is, I got 93 degrees. Yep. 93. Okay.
That's what I got.
We're in agreement. It's 93 degrees, which is plenty hot. It only feels like about 108. I don't know. But it's a moist heat, so there's that. I never get tired of that one. We all, this is a big week, politically speaking, because the whole election could be decided on Thursday. I mean, it's really not an overstatement to suggest that the whole thing could be decided by whatever happens on Thursday at the big debate. Now, as you know, we got an event in Murfreesboro, and I'm hearing rumblings that we may have gotten clearance to carry the debate.
That's what I'm hearing.
That's what I'm hearing. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that's the case, and we'll make an official announcement once we get that, but that'd be great. So we'll be there until 8 o'clock. The debate starts at 8, and then the debate would be after that, about an hour. I think it's a 90-minute debate. One of the things they're trying to find out at Camp David right now, where President Biden is squirreled away with all of his political advisors, is whether he can stand up for 90 minutes. I mean, honestly, that's sort of an important thing. I thought they were going to be sitting, but apparently no, they're going to be standing, and that got worked out, and they're going to be standing at a podium. And I don't know about you, I'm getting to the point where I couldn't stand for 90 minutes. We know Trump can, because he carries on for these big rallies. He goes a couple of hours sometimes, so we know he's good for at least an hour and a half. It will be interesting. Oh! I got the official word. We do have the debate. We're going to be able to carry the CNN debate here on Super Talk 99.7.
Wow, that's
huge.
Schwong-worthy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. This just in, we will carry the debate right here on Super Talk 99.7 live Thursday night. So if you happen to be out and around, you can still listen in your car, but you got to be coming out to Murfreesboro to join us out there. Now, everybody's talking about this interview that Cassie Hunt over at CNN did with Trump spokesperson Caroline Leavitt. I think it was over the weekend, where Cassie just cut her off when she tried to make some points. And I'm telling you, Cassie walked right into it. This couldn't have ended better for the Trump people. Here's the exchange in case you haven't heard it.
What do you expect from Joe Biden?
Well, first of all, it would take someone 5 minutes to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, to see that Jake Tapper has consistently frequently likened President Trump to Adolf Hitler.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
Yes.
If you are here to speak on his behalf,
I
am
will
willing to have this conversation.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay.
Now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Caroline, thank you very much for your time. You are welcome to come back at any point. She is welcome to come back and speak about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump will have equal time to Joe Biden when they both join us now at later this week in Atlanta for this debate.
First of all, Cassie Hunt got rattled and angry, which is what you should never do. And second of all, she walked right into the trap. It was Admiral Akbar worthy. I mean, it was a trap. It's a trap. And she walked right into Trump's trap. She really did. Because now they're on defense. Now everything that Jake Tapper or Dana Bash says is going to be looked at through the lens of, well, are they being fair? Are they being fair? Because, they haven't been fair in the past. And, CNN is well known for this. They did everything they could to take the Democrat talking point that somehow Trump is espousing Nazi Hitler-like rhetoric.
So the erosion of basic standards of civility and human decency continues. It's not just a Republican phenomenon, but we are being led down the drain by President Trump.
Let's recognize this comment for what it is, a long-standing anti-Semitic trope that the true allegiance for Jews is to their religion rather than their country. It was used in Nazi Germany to justify the arrests, persecutions, and mass killings, attempted extermination of the Jewish people. And Trump has been pushing this trope for years.
The dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler is once again alive and well on a national political stage, this time given life by former president and current Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump.
He talks about the blood of America as being poisoned, echoing the same exact language used in Nazi Germany.
I mean, there you have CNN, espousing the Democrat talking points, and we all know that Trump is not Hitler. But they were trying to make the case back then. So it was fair of Caroline to raise this in advance of it, but because they had such a reaction and they kicked her off the air and they cut her off, they walked right into the trap. I mean, this works out brilliantly. It works out brilliantly for Trump. Because now he's a sympathetic figure. Oh, he's going into a debate where both of the moderators are out to get him, and, they've already said horrible things about him in the past. I mean, it just revives all of that. And if Cassie had simply just gone ahead and said, honestly, I have a disagreement with some of the things you've said, but let's move on. Yeah, and just continued to let her have her say and then move on to other topics, this would not have become the thing that it's become. But because she was so rude and cut her off and really got rattled and mad and angry, sort of tells you that they're on the defensive over there at CNN. It's going to be interesting having laid that down before we get to the debate. Now, as you know, the president of the United States, Joe Biden, is over there at Camp David. And he's not even going to come back to the White House before this debate on Thursday. He's going to have been there by the time that we get to the debate. He will have been there 7 days in a row. I guess they're trying to get his meds right. I don't know what they're trying to do, but I don't know why anybody would need. If you're president of the United States, you ought to have a pretty working knowledge with the major issues of the day, wouldn't you think? And everybody's wondering who's going to show up in this debate. Is it going to be this guy? Or is it going to be angry Joe Biden that we saw at the State of the Union? Even if they give him the drugs and pump him up and he's ready to come on and shout for 90 minutes and he can stand up and take the heat for 90 minutes, he's not going to have a teleprompter. And he's really bad with facts. He makes them up. He gets them wrong. And he gets his words crossed up from time to time. That guy is there's no way that you can get through, I think, given his state, 2 hours or 90 minutes rather, without making some major mistakes. Representative Ronnie Jackson is a former White House physician, and he's wondering what the hell are they doing to Joe Biden at Camp David right now?
I have sent 5 letters previously asking for President Biden to submit to a cognitive test, very similar to the one that President Trump got while he was president, and all 5 of those letters have gone completely ignored. So tomorrow I'm sending a letter to President Biden, to his physician, Dr. O'Connor, and I'm CCing his entire cabinet. And it's embarrassing that I have to do this, and it's really embarrassing as a former White House physician to have to do something like this, but we don't have any choice based on what's going on. But I'm going to be demanding on behalf of many millions of concerned Americans right now that he submit to a drug test before and after this debate, specifically looking for performance-enhancing drugs. Because we've seen recently in his State of the Union address that there was a Joe Biden that came out that was not similar at all to what we see on a day-to-day basis for the last 3.5 years. And there's just really no way to explain that other than he was on something, that they'd given him medications. I feel like this is probably what's going on over this week at Camp David. He's going to be at Camp David for a full week before the debate. Part of that is probably experimenting with, just getting the doses just right, because, they have to treat his cognition. They have to give him something to help him think straighter. They have to give him something to wake him up, for his alertness. And then, he's been agitated. We see that all the time, and that's a common symptom or sign of this cognitive disorder that he seems to be suffering from. And so they're probably going to give him something to take the edge off that as well.
I mean, he's going to be pumped full of a lot of drugs. Remember the State of the Union, the thing I always felt was sort of interesting about the State of the Union is that he was late, very late getting to the Capitol. And I wonder if they were waiting for the meds to hit or to, for him just to hit the peak, whatever the meds were doing, that he hit the peak of it. because otherwise, I mean, if there's one place you don't want to be late, it's to the State of the Union. It's 16 blocks. You got the entire corridor cleared by police. You got a police escort. The drive 16 blocks with a police escort and the full motorcade, maybe 2.5 minutes. So why was he late? I've always wondered about that. And for me, I always wondered, were they waiting for the meds to hit just right? Were they, well, we can't put him out there just yet. And now it's good. Okay, we can go. I mean, the timing of the meds is everything, making sure that he's at peak when he needs to be at peak. But he was angry and he yelled, and all he had to do was read the teleprompter. I don't think, quite frankly, he's likely to have the same kind of performance. We'll see. We'll be ready for it. By the way, looking at poll numbers, real quick, CBS does a general election number, Trump up by 1. But I think it's real interesting when you look at the Real Clear Politics average of polls. They're just slowly but surely coming up for Trump. Now, the two-way is tight. Trump leads by 0.9, less than 1%, in the two-way general election number on average. That's averaging all the polls together. The five-way, however, where you have 5 different candidates, it's Trump, Biden, RFK Jr., Weston Stein, he leads by 2.2. But when you look at the battleground states, again, they've gone up again. Trump is up 3.4 on average in the battleground states. And by the way, thank you, Real Clear Politics. They have added Virginia as a battleground state. I think they need to add Minnesota as well. They still have it as a blue state, but I mean, look, there's a lot of evidence that he could do very well there in Minnesota. Some of the polling shows that it's tied there. And here's a story about that, townhall.com. Looks like Trump may have Minnesota in the bag. I wouldn't go quite that far, but let's read what they have to say. According to new polls, Trump is in the lead to secure Minnesota, resulting in the Biden campaign panicking over the president's diminishing chances to win in November. The Emerson College polling, The Hill poll, found that Trump holds a slight advantage over President Joe Biden in 6 swing states and is tied in Minnesota at 45 each. In our first polling in several key swing states since Trump's conviction last month, there's been little movement, says Spencer Kimball, the executive director of Emerson College Polling. A recent memo from the Trump campaign revealed that it is expanding its ground game to Minnesota, where it has signed 8 leases for Trump offices in Minnesota. The addition of Minnesota and Virginia to the electoral map opens up at least 12 additional pathways for the president to get to 270, the memo said. The number of electoral votes, of course, needed to win. If Trump takes home the gold in Minnesota, he'd be the first Republican to win the state since Richard Nixon in 72. In 2016, the former president came close to securing the state, but lost it by a hair to Democrat challenger Hillary Clinton. And I think the comment here by Frank Luntz, political guru Frank Luntz said, the media undermining Trump's strength in Minnesota shows that the media doesn't understand what is happening in the political landscape regarding polls. I don't think the media understands exactly what's going on right now. Yes, Trump dropped a point or two after being found guilty on 34 felony accounts, but remember, this would have destroyed any candidate as recently as 10 years ago. And the fact that Donald Trump is still even, or in some cases, leading Joe Biden after being found guilty of 34 felonies, well, he thinks that's quite something. And I do too. I don't notice much drop. Maybe a hair in independence, but honestly, these numbers, it's a long way to November. A lot of things could happen, but I'm feeling pretty good about where they are. I'll have some more political stuff to talk about in a moment. Right now, 22 past the hour. Are your retirement assets structured to minimize taxes? You need to think about this. As hard as it is to believe, many hardworking Americans just like you could be overpaying on taxes in retirement. You may be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, and any other tax-deferred retirement accounts. Beacon Capital Management is here to give you peace of mind. With the threat of massive tax increases just around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax-saving strategies now. Defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. No cost, no pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, don't wait any longer to schedule your free retirement tax reduction analysis from Beacon. Here's the number, 615-488-9303, or visit askbeaconnow.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Coming up, we'll get the Tennessee Attorney General's take on the U.S. Supreme Court ruling taking on statewide bans on gender-affirming medical treatments, and we'll also have today's closing money news. That's all at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yeah, and what kind of posture should Trump take going into this debate? I think that Matt Vespa has a pretty good take on it. I think that the answer is less is more in this particular debate. Let me just read from his op-ed on townhall.com. I'm hoping Trump destroys Biden, but with graceful brutality. Don't interrupt or be overly aggressive, which was Trump's mistake during the first debate of the 2020 election. I agree. The wind is already at your back, Mr. Trump. Let Biden talk because there's a good chance he'll short circuit. Let Biden make his shoddy talking points about how he's a job creator, then line by line calmly eviscerate these points. It's Trump's debate to lose. All the former president has to show is that he's energetic, can throw and take punches, take down his opponent in a presidential way. Think Reagan's There You Go Again, or how he expertly destroyed the talking from Mondale about his age in 1984. It's a moment where Mondale admitted he knew he had just lost the election. As much as I would love an ad hominem attack, refrain from attacking and let the old man spew lies that cover his thin, unremarkable presidency that's been marred by incompetence, chaos, and abject failure. I think he's right about this. If Biden has a brain fart, don't get overexcited. Just carry on as if nothing happened. The voters already know Biden is too old. Let his own faults and mental health failures be broadcast uninterrupted to tens of million people watching with Trump having some reserved disposition and not attacking during such a situation might even win over some moderates who are, again, fence-sitting due to the former president's bull in a China closet reputation. I mean, I think that's exactly right. I hope he's hearing that. I hope he reads that. I hope they're going at it that way. Trump has a tendency to go in just, loaded for bear and just, laying waste to the room. And I think that if he showed restraint here, I mean, I honestly, I've heard people say this before, and I find myself sort of in agreement. If Trump had pulled in his horns about 10%, in the last election, he'd be president today. Now, I think he just needs to be a little less of that Donald Trump that we've seen, who can come on pretty strong. I know we love it. I know a lot of people really love it when he does that. But in this particular case, it's the rope-a-dope is what it is. Just be there, be solid. Don't get too excited. Don't get too feisty. Let Biden hang himself. And I think, quite frankly, he will. Again, no matter how many drugs they pump into him, he's not reading off a teleprompter, and he's not good with facts, and he makes up stories, and he gets things wrong. Let that just be the thing that people walk away from the whole debate, understanding. This guy doesn't have it, and I think it will work out very well for Donald Trump if he does just that. 30 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock. Time for the news with Jay Harper.
Yes, good afternoon. It's 4:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. All kinds of sun, 93 degrees, a complete hot forecast, and traffic in just a few minutes. The U.S. Supreme Court says it will hear a case in its next term challenging statewide bans on gender-affirming medical treatments for children. We have a Tennessee Attorney General's take on this, Jonathan Skrmetti. This is his response to the court's decision. Per Ken Weaver.
Skrmetti says in his statement, we fought hard to defend Tennessee's law protecting kids from irreversible gender treatments and secured a thoughtful and well-reasoned opinion from the Sixth Circuit. He goes on to say he looks forward to finishing the fight in the United States Supreme Court. Skrmetti says this case will bring much-needed clarity to whether the Constitution contains special protections for gender identity. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Now let's turn to today's closing money news with Daria Albinger.
From ABC News, Wall Street now stocks closed mixed to start the week. The Dow was up 261 points, the S&P off 17, the Nasdaq falling 193. Tech stocks taking a bit of a beating thanks to that continued slide by tech heavyweight Nvidia, which is keeping the indices in check. Car dealerships across North America continue to do business old school using pen and paper to close deals after back-to-back cyber attacks last week led to outages. The White House is taking steps to increase access to affordable housing, announcing a series of federal initiatives that are designed to combat high prices, lack of inventory, and rising mortgage rates. European Union regulators are accusing Apple of breaking new rules on digital competition by imposing rules in its App Store, which don't point users to cheaper options on other venues. UPS is selling its freight brokerage business to Coyote Logistics for less than it paid for it in 2015.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather there next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Let me tell you about the folks over at USS. Listen, yeah, we talk about them all the time. We did the whole thing where we told you about their new effort to try to help you if you have mold in your crawl space. But, let's talk about the very basics of what they do. Waterproofing and foundation repair. And there's another thing that they do that's sort of related to foundation repair. It is that they are really good at lifting concrete. You have a sunken piece of concrete, in a driveway, around the pool, out on your deck, whatever you got. If you got a big piece of concrete that's sunk, you just call USS. They're remarkably good at this. They can get that thing nice, plumb, and level, and it will really look good. It's actually a lot cheaper to do it this way than it is to actually re-pour the concrete. So, I mean, that's just the way to go. They have 25,000 satisfied residential customers. And so if you need concrete lifting, if you need foundation repair, you got cracked bricks, and all the things that go along with that, you need to just call them, 615-488-7855. USS, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, online at USSTN.com, or call this number, 615-488-7855. Again, 615-488-7855.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
38 past the hour of 4 o'clock right now. Still pretty steamy out there. 93 degrees. Feel like it's 117. I'm making that up. I don't know what it feels like, but it's hot.
It feels hot. That's what it feels like.
You know what you got to worry about in hot weather like this, and I forget this sometimes, is if you have little puppy dogs, little kitties, you need to make sure that that their feet are protected when hot concrete is really hot.
Yep.
I mean, I can't walk on it. So you got to wonder how it feels to them. You don't want to burn their little puppy feet.
Yeah, asphalt is even worse, obviously, because it's black. It absorbs that heat, yeah.
So, think about that. And, we have our shoes on. We don't think about it. But, boy, if you had to walk out there on that hot concrete, you'd know it pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be hot-footed across there, I promise you. We do have a little bit of news. We are announcing now that we will be carrying the debate on Thursday night. We're going to be live at Hop Springs in Murfreesboro, starting at 3 o'clock. Everybody's going to crash the boards at 6 and join me. We'll have Dan and Chris Hand and Matt Murphy will all be there, and we'll carry on for an hour, and then we'll go another hour, and that will take us up to the debate, which starts at 8 o'clock, and then for 90 minutes we will carry CNN's debate on the radio. We just got clearance on that, so big announcement here. We will be carrying the debate live on Thursday night, so it's going to be a humdinger. I mean, honestly, I don't really think it's an overstatement to say the election could be decided on Thursday night. It really could be, how things go. Got some unusual stories I want to, sort of some out there stuff. I'm a big fan of the show Yellowstone. Now, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but a lot of people do like this show. I sort of call it an R-rated version of Dallas. Imagine Dallas was, in Montana or Wyoming, and you did a big thing like that. And but it was on HBO back in the day. Language is a little rough. Themes are a little rough.
Or how about this? How about Sopranos, but they're on a ranch instead of
it could be
running
that.
a sanitation.
Yeah. But the big question is what happens for season 5B? 5A is done, and now the question is Costner going to be a part of it? Because he's been busy doing his own passion project. It's a movie called Horizon, which is yet to be released, but he's been working on that for like a year and a half. Well, he finally, definitive word from Costner, he's not going back to Yellowstone.
Hi, everyone. I just want to reach out and let you know that after this long year and a half of working on Horizon and doing all the things that's required and thinking about Yellowstone, that beloved series that I love, that I know you love, I just realized that I'm not going to be able to continue season 5B or into the future. It was something that really changed me. I loved it, and I know you loved it. And I just wanted to let you know that I won't be returning. And I love the relationship we've been able to develop, and I'll see you at the movies.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, that's definitive. He's not going back. I mean, they've been for so long. You see a lot of stuff written about it, but none of it seemed to be very authoritative. When you would read into it, they go, well, this story told me nothing with any kind of certainty. But there it is, Costner saying it also, by the way, comes out on the same day that Paramount Plus announced when the season 5B would be, which I think is November 10th, 5 days after the election. There'll be the second half of season 5, November 10th. And I think he realized, well, I guess I'm not going back if they got a date now. So apparently he did announce that. And then the big question is, how in the heck do you finish Yellowstone without the key person that the whole story revolves around, which was Kevin Costner in his role as John Dutton? I mean, I don't know how in the world you do that.
It's going to be tough, I would think.
I can't. Look. I have a lot of faith in Taylor Sheridan, who is the producer of this show, and who apparently has been at odds now with Costner about this whole thing for some time now. I mean, Taylor Sheridan is a hell of a producer and puts together a really good, compelling, watchable series. But, I mean, if he can pull this off, he will go down in the annals of all times of having solved what I think is an unsolvable problem. How do you end the series, this part of the Yellowstone saga? There may be other parts to come, but this part, how do you end it without Kevin Costner playing the lead role? I just don't know how you do it.
Now, I haven't watched this show, and I don't know how the first part of this season ended, but I'm assuming it did not end with his character departing or going somewhere. So they would have a natural explanation, right?
No, not at all. And I mean, I can't figure it out. And I'm going to go back and rewatch the earlier part, the other earlier 5A, just to make sure that I didn't miss something. But I don't know how you do it. I mean, the real storylines were between Beth and Jamie, the two siblings, the two Dutton siblings, and they weren't getting along very well. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I just can't imagine it. But there it is. Costner's not going back. It is now official. Willie Nelson is doing a big tour. He's got a big outlaw music festival that's scheduled to run on Friday, and he has canceled his first shows. Nelson, age 91. Yeah, Willie Nelson is 91 years old. Posted to his Facebook page saying he's not feeling well and he must rest per doctor's orders before returning to the tour. We are told that the singer is expected to make a quick recovery and join the festival this week. Until then, Lucas Nelson and the Nelson Family Band and a few guests will perform a special set to include Nelson's classics as well as other songs. Additionally, other artists are going to be there as well. The Outlaw Music Festival kicked off June 21st at Ameris Bank in Alpharetta, Georgia. Ameris Bank Amphitheater in Alpharetta, Georgia. The festival makes stops across various states, including North Carolina, New York, and California. The tour is set to end on September 20th in Guilford, New Hampshire. Well known for being Willie Nelson country. New Hampshire?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But, Willie, I got to tell you, I've heard, when I worked the morning show, there were 2 mornings, I don't think I've ever talked about this, where there was a serious rumor floating around. We never went on to air with it because it was not confirmed, but there was a serious rumor on 2 different occasions. You may remember we talked about this, Chris, where we thought Willie Nelson had passed away.
Yep.
And it turned out not to be true. As one one well-known country star told me, he's as tough as an old boot, Willie Nelson is, and he keeps defying everybody's expectations. But I hope that he feels better and gets back on the tour as soon as possible. But 91 years old, still out there cranking away.
Yeah, I think, if you're a fan of Willie's, you can forgive him for saying, I need a little more time to get to feeling better.
I am a fan of Willie's. Yeah. I've been to about 10 Willie Nelson concerts in my life. I'm a big fan and a big admirer of not only his song stylings, but also hell of a guitar player. I mean, he really is a hell of a guitar player. And I really just love the guy. I mean, it's going to be from a lot of people when they say, when Paul McCartney, finally, passes on, I don't wish him any harm. He looks healthy as a horse, doing very well. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that will be a big day for a lot of people.
Yep.
It'll be the same way with me and Willie Nelson.
Yeah, I'd put them on par with one another for sure.
I'm telling you, I may just have to take the whole day off because I am a huge Willie Nelson fan, and I really love what he has done and his career and just, I'm telling you, I've interviewed him about 3 or 4 times, and I think maybe 4 times, and my favorite one was he was giving something to the Smithsonian Institute. Something he was donating to the, about his career to the Smithsonian Institute. And I interviewed him and I said, Willie, are you nervous? And he said, why would I be nervous? I said, well, because we're right across the street from the IRS building. I thought it might upset you to be that close. And, he just laughed. He said, the IRS and we had a disagreement, but we worked it out. Willie pulled a fast one on the IRS. He took all this junk that he had sitting around, all this recording that wasn't really worthy of being put out on an album, you go in and you record stuff and you just at the end of the day say, it's not very good.
Yeah.
It just didn't work. And he was doing a lot of that. And had a bunch of stuff that was just, not really great stuff. And he settled with the IRS saying, we'll publish an album and you'll get all of the proceeds from the album. And he just cleared out all his junk.
I love that.
I do
so
too.
Good.
I do. And that was how they settled the case, I think, eventually. But yeah, Willie Nelson still going strong at 91. You got to admire that. Finally, as long as we're doing weird stories here, there was a naked man arrested after breaking into a downtown Nashville bar. Have you heard this story? It happened last Wednesday. We're just hearing about it. A man arrested for public indecency after he was found naked at a bar in downtown Nashville. Officers with the Metro Nashville Police Department were called to the Broadway Brew House in response to a burglary alarm. When they arrived, they found the back door of the bar open. Property was thrown out. Multiple things were damaged. Some of the things included a soda fountain and a cash register system. An officer spoke with an employee, said they found the bar vandalized and came across a naked man stealing liquor from the bar. Officers identified the man as 61-year-old John Fowler when he tried to re-enter from the back patio. The police are there, and he tries to go back in buck naked. Well, apparently, no, he wasn't completely naked. He was wearing a bar apron.
Well, I mean, you got to protect certain
I know.
things,
I mean, so the front was covered, but the back was not.
He didn't want to leave any evidence behind.
That's hilarious. Yeah, wearing an apron, but nothing else. Nothing but a smile and an apron. 50 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a Guaranteed Offer and start packing.
Would House Republicans use a decades-old contempt power provision to arrest the Attorney General? Well, we'll have that prospect for you. Also, Hunter Biden trying to have his gun conviction overturned, and a suspect is dead in a shooting at a Chattanooga office building. We'll have those stories at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
57 minutes now past the hour. Listen, coming up, the Supreme Court has decided to take up an interesting case, and it all has to do with a law passed here in the state of Tennessee. It's all about, what the left likes to call gender-affirming care, and we'll talk about that coming up right after the news with Jay Harper. It's straight ahead right here on Super Talk 99.7, 58 minutes now past the hour.
Good afternoon. It's 5 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Sunshine, 92 degrees now. A full forecast and the latest traffic are on the way. Could House Republicans try to have the Attorney General arrested for his failure to turn over recordings of President Biden? ABC News' Stephen Portnoy, he's got more on that issue from Washington.
This fight is over the audio of President Biden's interview with Special Counsel Robert Hur. The transcripts were turned over by the Justice Department, but Republicans say that's not enough. Now one says the House should pass a resolution calling for the Sergeant-at-Arms to arrest Merrick Garland and bring him before the body for a contempt trial. The Supreme Court upheld Congress's inherent contempt power in 1935, but that power hasn't been used since. Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna says she'll now demand a vote to invoke it.
Hunter Biden trying to have his federal gun conviction overturned on a technicality. Here's ABC's Andy Field.
In the appeal, Hunter Biden's lawyers are not arguing there was anything wrong with his trial or conviction. Instead, they're asking for a new trial because the last one began before a circuit court had formally denied his appeal. The president's son's lawyers also arguing that the recent Supreme Court decision that continued a ban on firearms for people under domestic violence restraining orders should also require a new trial, saying Hunter Biden had no restraining order and should have been able to purchase a weapon.
In Chattanooga, a suspect is dead after a reported shooting inside an office building there, according to the Chattanooga Police Department. That suspect, who died by suicide, quote, had a plan, according to authorities. Here's Chattanooga's Police Department spokesman, Sergeant Victor Miller.
What information that we know, a shooter was inside the building and was attempting to execute a plan. That failed. We found that he shot himself and he is deceased.
Chattanooga police not specifying today whether the plan that they're alluding to included hurting people or whether shots were fired at anyone. Police said no one was hurt, no one else was hurt, and no other information's been released at this time. Well, tonight it's do or die for the Vols. It's the deciding Game 3 of the College World Series in Omaha after the Vols came from behind to win yesterday against the Texas A&M Aggies 4-1.
And Tennessee forces a Game 3 and win it 4-1.
That's ESPN's Carl Ravitch. The Vols are trying to become the first number 1 national seed to win the championship since Miami did it back in 1999. This will be the 5th World Series final since 2018 and the second in a row to go 3 games. The Volunteers, who lost the finals opener 9-5 on Saturday, they have not lost consecutive games, though, since March when they lost to Alabama. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It is almost 7 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson. I am your friend and radio buddy, and this is The Drive for Monday, June 24th. It is still hot. I mean, it hasn't moved since I got on the air. It's still 93 degrees. Is that what you got, Chris? 93? Yep. 93 blistering degrees. Summer is definitely here. I don't know about you, but my yard's just going to ruin.
Yeah, it's more brown than green.
Yeah, more brown than green at this point. That's right. God, we had so much rain. I hate to say we need more rain, but I wouldn't mind a little rain.
Yeah, if we just scatter it out a little instead of getting it all at one time like we do.
Right. Yeah, you know? I got a little rain yesterday evening.
Really?
Yeah. There was a little bit of rain.
I didn't get none of that.
Yeah. But it was very hit or miss, I think. Let's see what we got here. I want to talk about the Supreme Court, the Supremes. They have got a lot of things that they need to announce, and they haven't announced. But they did decide that they're going to take on an interesting case, and it really is based on a Tennessee law that is now under scrutiny by the High Court. It's the law that we passed here in Tennessee that said, if you want to go through some kind of transgender therapy, and you want to go to get puberty blockers, or if you want to go get surgeries, you need to wait until you're at least an adult. That we ought to wait on those kind of things until you reach the age of adulthood, which is 18 in the state of Tennessee. And so that was our law. And the idea here is, we do a lot of things to protect young children. We have what are they called, the baby carriers? I've forgotten what the word for those things is.
Car seats.
Car seats. Think of the baby car seats. Yeah. Baby carriers. But so you got the car seats that have to be in the back seat, and that's a requirement. We have laws about, you can't drink until you reach a certain age. We do a lot of things to protect children and the law, and I think that the state legislature was correct in passing a law that said, hey, if you want to go get the gender therapy, if you want to transition, you're not happy in the body that you have, whatever, but wait till you're an adult. And I think that's fine. I think there's nothing wrong with that. But in fact, there are about 24 states that have sort of followed suit to what we did here in Tennessee, and they have passed similar laws banning transgender medical treatment until you reach the age of adulthood. And so that case now apparently is going to be reviewed by the High Court, and they took the Tennessee case as the one they wanted to look at. They could have looked at any different number of cases. They chose the Tennessee law. In a brief order on Monday, writes the Wall Street Journal, the court said it would hear the Biden administration's challenge to a Tennessee law that bans gender transition care, such as medications that can delay the onset of puberty and hormones that can cause physical changes, as the development of facial hair, such as the development of facial hair or breasts. It also, of course, the Tennessee law says you can't undergo surgery. The Justice Department argues that the measures violate the Constitution's guarantee of equal protection, contending that the laws ban medical treatments only if they are used to treat gender dysphoria, while permitting their use for other conditions such as precocious puberty. Okay. The Federal Appeals Court in Cincinnati rejected that argument. The unsettled, developing, and still experimental nature of treatments in this area surely permits more than one policy approach, and the Constitution does not favor one over the other, wrote Chief Judge Jeffrey Sutton for the 6th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. Roughly 24 states have now banned or restricted such treatments. So, we're not alone in doing this. Most of them are states where Republicans control the state legislature, or you have a Republican attorney general. So that has now happened. Here's AP's version of it. They use this term. I don't think it's. I would really like to question the Associated Press about their use of this term. They call it gender affirming care, and I think that's the Democrat, that's the liberal preferred language. And, the liberals are pretty good about saying, well, if you win the debate over the language, you win the debate. Supreme Court on Monday jumped into the fight over transgender rights, agreeing to hear an appeal from the Biden administration seeking to block state bans on quote-unquote gender-affirming care. The justice's action comes as Republican-led states have enacted a variety of restrictions on health care for transgender people, school sport participation, bathroom usage, drag shows. The administration and Democrat-led states have extended protections for transgender people, including a new federal regulation that seeks to protect transgender students. So this is the case before the High Court. Involves a law in Tennessee that restricts puberty blockers and hormone therapy for transgender minors. The Federal Appeals Court in Cincinnati allowed laws in Tennessee and Kentucky to take effect after they had been blocked by lower courts. The High Court, by the way, did not act on a separate appeal from the state of Kentucky. South Carolina became the 25th state to adopt a law restricting or banning, their words again, gender-affirming medical care for transgender minors, even though treatments have been available in the U.S. for more than a decade and are endorsed by some medical associations. You know, in Europe, it's true. You can check me out on this. I'm absolutely right about it. They've been doing this stuff a lot longer, and they're coming full circle on it. I mean, a lot of the research now being done out of Europe indicates that this is not the proper way to go, and that Tennessee has it right. So we'll see how that all goes. But again, the High Court taking that up. Now, Tennessee Attorney General Skermetti will have to defend this. Tennessee U.S. Supreme Court announced it will hear arguments, according writes the Tennessee Star, on whether the Tennessee law that bans, quote-unquote, gender-affirming care on minors, including puberty blockers, hormone therapy, sex change surgeries, violates the Constitution. And Skermetti said he looks forward to fighting the case in Supreme Court. Let me see. I've got a statement here from him. We fought hard to defend Tennessee's law protecting kids from irreversible gender treatments and secured a thoughtful and well-reasoned opinion from the Sixth Circuit Court. I look forward to finishing the fight in the United States Supreme Court. This case will bring much-needed clarity to whether the Constitution contains special protections for gender identity. That is, of course, again, Jonathan Skermetti, our Attorney General. This was, of course, passed by the state legislature, signed into law by the governor, brought to the floor of the House by William Lamberth. He said that Leader Johnson, Jack Johnson, on the Senate side, and I carried this bill to protect minors from these barbaric medical procedures, and we succeeded in the legislative process. We always knew liberals would try to use the court system to undo a strong law protecting kids, but I have faith that Attorney General Skermetti will be successful in defending the law. Jack Johnson, who again carried this in the Senate, said, I'm proud of the work we've done to protect Tennessee children. I'm grateful SCOTUS is taking up this important piece of legislation. It was an honor to sponsor this bill with William Lamberth, and I'd do it over 1,000 times. So, you know, they feel pretty strongly about this, and I do think it was a good piece of legislation. And given what we're now learning, I hate to turn the corner too hard here because we're still learning a lot about what the Covenant shooter was going through at Vandy Psych. I want to know more about what was happening there. And I guess what we're finding out is that there are real questions about whether or not this person was going through any kind of these kinds of treatments. They were under she was under a boatload of medicines. And what was all that about? As you know, Vandy came under scrutiny when there was a tape that came out of some doctor holding a seminar talking about the need to do gender-changing surgeries and how profitable they were. And that's what sort of caused the state legislature to get into that, because they felt that we should not be looking at whether or not it's profitable. We should be looking at whether or not we should be allowing young children to go through this before they reach the age of adulthood. Where I'm at on it, I'm just saying, look, if you want to go through that, that's all good and fine, but wait until you're an adult so you can make a reasoned decision. Your brain's, even the brain does not mature in men, for example, until your mid-20s. So are you really ready to make a decision like that? I mean, look, half the harebrained things I wanted to do at 18, 16, 17, 18 years old, I'm glad that there were laws that prevented me from doing some of this stuff because I was pretty stupid. As long as we're talking about the Supreme Court, they have yet to hand down a bunch of rulings. They have 14 left to go. 6 of them are considered pretty big. One of them has to do with presidential immunity, and that's one that everybody's sort of watching. And it's sort of thought they would come out this week, but who knows? Every once in a while, if they're really behind at the Supreme Court, they push their rulings into July. The Trump immunity case, another case that will likely be ruled, writes the Epoch Times, this week involves former President Trump, who had argued that he should be declared immune for his activity after the 2020 election to deal with what he described as election fraud. Special counsel Jack Smith last year charged the former president with conspiracy to subvert the 2020 election, and the former president has appealed the case to the High Court. During arguments, the justices appeared skeptical of the Trump attorney's arguments that he should be fully immune from prosecution, but some of the justices seem inclined to carve out some immunity for the president. Several justices offered warnings that all future former presidents could be prosecuted by their successors if immunity is not upheld. So when is this going to kind of come out? That's a big one. We're waiting for that to happen. There's another case that I think is really, really interesting that is yet to be decided, and will they pull back on the Chevron doctrine? 40 years now, the High Court has stood behind the Chevron doctrine. And what that is basically is it says that courts should defer to executive branch agencies' expertise when it comes to interpreting the laws when Congress's intent in passing the law is unclear. And so what happens is you got agencies like the EPA, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and they look at the law and they say, well, this law that came out from Congress is a little vague, so here's how we think it should be interpreted. And when they do that, that you have protection. Cases have been brought, and they keep running into the Chevron doctrine. Well, you're supposed to give deference to the executive branch and the agencies that have decided how they are going to interpret the laws handed down by Congress. The problem is you get presidents that are Democrats and they interpret the law one way. And then you get enough presidents who are Republican and they interpret it a different way. So there's always this sort of changing landscape for people in the regulatory part of government, and it really is hard on businesses who never know from one administration to the next what the official policies of the government is going to be as people change parties, change and take over the executive branch. So I think, quite frankly, Chevron was badly decided law. And that our regulators are given way too much power to interpret however they see fit at any given moment what laws have been passed by Congress. Sometimes I don't think Congress has been very vague at all, but they interpret it as, well, Congress has been vague here, so here's what we're going to do. We need to stop that. We need Congress to be clear. And we need to not hide behind this Chevron doctrine, which says we give great deference to whatever the executive branch agency says about a regulation. That would be a huge change. And I hope this 6-3 court gets rid of the Chevron doctrine. It's now 21 past the hour. There are no pills or spinal creams that can magically open up your spinal disc. If you've got pain in your back, that's what it is. It's pressure on your nerves. And pills and spinal creams are not going to solve that problem. Really, to solve the problem, you got a couple of choices. Number one, surgery. or non-invasive spinal decompression. It's worked for a lot of people. I can tell you it worked miracles for me. I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. They have a state-of-the-art facility, the latest high-tech equipment, the latest non-surgical procedures are performed there. And because getting better is so important to Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, they are offering half-off spinal decompression treatments and the KT knee machine. That's right. And if you're a new patient, why don't you do this? You go in, you get your exam, your consultation, x-rays if you need it, and your first treatment for only $23. I'm Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So call them today. Set up your appointment, 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
The U.S. and Israel continuing their spat over arms shipments, a new travel day record, and a Nashville man arrested over the weekend for a fatal auto crash from 3 years ago. We'll have those stories at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 25, maybe almost 26 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson, and I'm your friend and radio buddy. Glad to be with you on this steamy Monday afternoon. Still, I haven't seen the thermometer move one iota since I came on at 3. Still 93 degrees. It's hot. And so, take it easy out there. Take care of your little critters, okay? Make sure they're all right. Got water, place to be cool. Bulldogs don't do well in the heat.
I don't think she has to worry about that too much, though, does she?
No, she got a pretty good life. Yeah, she moves from one air conditioned room to the other. Yeah, she's only out there a little bit, but now she's happy to be under the AC. Let's see. I want to talk to you about this the big debate we have coming. That's going to be happening on Thursday. Of course, we're going to have a live event out at Hop Springs in Murfreesboro, and I'll be out there cooking at 3:00. Because it's an outdoor venue, but it's going to be a gathering of everybody. We're gonna lead up to the debate, so I'll be there starting at 3:00. Then Dan, Chris, and Matt will join me somewhere 5:30, 6 o'clock hour. Whenever they roll in, they'll join us, and then we will go all the way until 8:00. And then the big news: we are carrying the debate. We now have clearance to carry the debate right here on Super Talk 99.7 on Thursday night. So we'll take it right up to 8:00. The debate begins at 8 and goes to about 9:30. So you can listen to it all, but we'd love for you to come out and join us at Hop Springs. The debate, honestly, I don't know how strongly I can say this. What happens on Thursday night could well determine exactly who wins this presidency. I mean, we don't know which Joe Biden is going to show up. Is it going to be, the Joe Biden who showed up at the State of the Union address, or the Joe Biden who can't remember the name of his Secretary of Homeland Security? Is it going to be that guy? What's he saying there? I mean, is that going to be the guy that shows up? I mean, everybody thinks that he's been at Camp David, where you can't get near Camp David. There's no idea. We don't know anything that's going on at Camp David. And he's been there since last week, and he by the time we get to the debate, he will have been there 7 days. 7 days he's been there preparing for the debate. Or is that what he's really doing? Is he like, they got him sleeping in a hyperbaric chamber? Are they trying to get his meds just right? Give him an extra dose of Prevagen and a 5-hour energy drink, maybe a Red Bull or something. I don't know what to do. But, but if that guy who showed up on the State of the Union address is there, he'll be angry. He'll be shouting. The thing about that is you know what? When you do the State of the Union address, you've looked at the speech a bunch, and it's there on the teleprompter. Literally, all you have to do is read the words that are on the teleprompter there in front of you. Now, the teleprompter, I can tell you from a lot of personal experience, can be a cruel mistress. I mean, people can struggle with the teleprompter, and he does. But it's a lot easier to stay sort of on track if you just read what's scrolling there before your very own eyes. He won't have a teleprompter at the debate. And he has, even if he's relatively alert and energetic, he gets facts wrong all the time. He tells stories that simply are not true. He's real big on talking about his as my papa and my daddy used to say, as my father used to say, and then he'll put out something out there, and we come in, we fact check it later. We found out none of the things that he's ever said were true. So I mean, if that Joe Biden shows up and just makes a lot of mistakes, that's going to be the narrative that comes out of the debate. I'm sort of hoping that Trump lays back and doesn't come on too strong. Rope-a-dope. Think strategy. Rope-a-dope. Let Biden give him enough rope to hang himself. But anyway, we hope that you'll join us at Hop Springs. And again, the debate will be carried here live. Time now for the news with Jay Harper at 5:30.
Good afternoon. We are now at 5:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Still plenty of sunshine, 93 degrees. The latest traffic report and the weather forecast are coming up. The State Department says the U.S. has given Israel assurances that weapons deliveries will continue as scheduled. Over the weekend, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claimed that the U.S. was slowing down its arms shipments. But speaking to reporters today in Washington, State Department spokesman Matthew Miller said U.S. officials have pointed out to the Israelis specific shipments that have been made just in the last few weeks.
We have paused one shipment of high payload munitions. That shipment remains on pause. It remains under review. There are other weapons that we continue to provide Israel, as we have done going back years and years.
Here's somewhat of a surprising revelation. Normally, the busiest travel days, they're linked to a holiday like Thanksgiving or July 4th, what have you. Well, this past Sunday just broke the all-time record.
It was a random day, not on a holiday weekend to break the TSA's all-time record, but Sunday was the busiest day in history at airport security checkpoints, according to the TSA. It says its officers screened 2.99 million people at checkpoints, and the upcoming 4th of July travel period could break records again. This Friday is expected to become the busiest travel day ever, with over 3 million people flying on that day.
That's Alex Stone reporting. Back here in Nashville, Fox 17 reporting that a man arrested Sunday is accused of causing a deadly Nashville crash 3 years ago on Trinity Lane. Metro Police say 43-year-old William Tribue of Nashville was taken into custody in Rutherford County yesterday. Police say he was driving a Dodge Charger back in 2021 that caused a crash in June of that year. Police say the Charger was speeding when it ran off the road and overturned. Xavier Dunlap, 23, was killed in that crash. Despite Tribue denying he was the driver of the Charger at the time of the wreck, the investigation ultimately determined that he was indeed behind the wheel. Tribue is now facing charges of vehicular homicide by intoxication and vehicular assault. He's being held on $101,000 bond. And again, that quick programming note, we're going to indeed be airing that presidential debate between President Biden and former President Trump this Thursday. The debate set to air at 8 p.m. right after the live radio event at Hop Springs and Murfreesboro. Again, that all happens here Thursday night on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper for WTN News.
Hey, the folks over at Grace Point Healthcare want me to remind you that, school is in the offing. It's on the horizon. It's time to start thinking about school and sports physicals. Grace Point provides complete physicals for kids of all ages, and scheduling an international vacation or scheduling an international vacation or a mission trip, Grace Point offers complete travel immunizations and is CDC certified for yellow fever and all other international immunization protocols. And because they will see you the same or next day, which is, so very important. You don't have to wait days a week to see a doctor. I mean, if you try to get a right now appointment, it's hard. That's modern medicine at your convenience. That's right. Grace Point, known for affordable, comprehensive, and convenient health care delivered the old-fashioned way. They're located on Main Street in Franklin, and here's the number, 615-599-6868. Again, 615-599-6868 to set up your appointment.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
It is 39 minutes now past the hour. When I covered Congress, you get to know these people who are known as sergeants at arms. The House has one, the Senate has one. A House Sergeant at Arms and a Senate Sergeant at Arms. And really the whole thing is that they're supposed to be the enforcers. So I remember, for example, Henry Juni was the big Hawaiian guy, was the Sergeant at Arms in the Senate. The majority leader of the Senate at that time was Robert C. Byrd of West Virginia. And everybody decided that they were going to hide out in their hideouts. It's not generally known, but up on Capitol Hill, on the Senate side, fourth floor, you can't really get there unless you have the right kind of credentials. There are a bunch of offices that are called hideaways, and almost every senator has a hideaway. It's the one place they can go, and nobody can get to them. Staff can't find them. They can get away from the phone calls, whatever, and they hide out there. So there was a big vote coming up, and you had to have enough people to carry out the vote. You had to have enough people there, and so a bunch of Republicans decided they were going to hide out in their hideaways and not show up for a vote, so you wouldn't have enough people to go forward with the vote. You wouldn't have a quorum, which is, the key word. You got to have a quorum. Well, Robert Byrd heard this, and you needed, I think 5 Republicans to get a quorum. And so he called Henry Juni, the Sergeant at Arms, and said, go find me some Republicans. And he knew where they were. They were up in their hideaways playing cards. and trying to hide out from Bob Byrd. And Henry Juni went and kicked in a door, grabbed some Republicans, and literally dragged them to the floor so that you had a quorum and that you could then go forward on a key vote. So and by the way, somebody got slightly injured. Somebody got like a pinky broken or something in the whole process. So, I mean, that's the power of the Sergeant at Arms. Over on the House side, there is one legislator who wants to invoke a process not used in 100 years, not more than a century. Now, it has withstood constitutional scrutiny, and it's something called inherent contempt. Now, as you know, Republicans are upset with Attorney General Merrick Garland, and they have held him in contempt, saying that you should give us the recordings of the interviews that the special counsel did with Joe Biden. The one, where Bob Hur, the special counsel, said after doing 2 days of interviews with Joe Biden that he wasn't going to bring charges on the classified documents case against Biden because he would have come across as being, well, a well-meaning old man who didn't have a very good memory. And he based that on the interview that he did with Joe Biden. And so the Republicans said, well, we've read the transcript, but we want to hear it. So we want those tapes. And the Attorney General has said no. Then the House of Representatives took a vote, and they held him in contempt for refusing a subpoena of Congress. Now, the problem is, of course, that if you just send over a contempt citation, the people who have to carry out the enforcement of that contempt citation would be the Department of Justice, over which Merrick Garland is the primary officer. He's the person in charge of the Department of Justice as our Attorney General. So they've already said, we ain't going to prosecute him on this. So now, this is where it gets interesting. Representative Anna Paulina Luna, a Republican of Florida, will move within days to force a vote on having the House Sergeant at Arms forcibly bring Attorney General Merrick Garland before the House by holding him in inherent contempt over his refusal to turn over the audio of President Biden's interview with Special Counsel Robert Hur. This according to thehill.com. Luna sent a letter to colleagues Monday saying she will call up her inherent contempt resolution in the next few days. When she raises the question of privilege, leaders will have to schedule action on the resolution within 2 legislative days. Under inherent contempt, which is different than contempt, the individual is brought before the bar of the House by the Sergeant at Arms, tried by the body, and then can be detained either in the Capitol or in D.C. Luna wrote in letter obtained by The Hill, the process demonstrates the seriousness with which Congress views noncompliance and potential consequences for those who refuse to carry out contempt citations handed down by Congress. The Justice Department is not commenting. It hasn't been used in 100 years, but it apparently did withstand, back in the day, constitutional scrutiny by the Supreme Court. House rules state that the recalcitrant witness may be arrested and brought to trial before the bar of the House with the offender facing possible incarceration, but do not go into any additional detail. A 2019 Congressional Research Service report described inherent contempt as a potentially powerful threat, but also a cumbersome and inefficient tool. Luna has long forecast her plans to do this. She filed her inherent contempt resolution in early May and promised to force a vote on it within 10 days of the other contempt resolution passing out of committee if the Justice Department did not act to produce the Biden-Hur audio. Would this be the coolest thing in the world? I mean, come on. This would be awesome. The attorney, our Sergeant at Arms of the House of Representatives, ordered by Congress to go find the Attorney General and drag his butt back to Capitol Hill for a trial. And then I guess if they found him guilty, they could put him in jail on Capitol Hill. I guess they got a holding cell somewhere down there. I never saw it. But, I mean, they got to have one little place where they can hold people, because that happens from time to time. You know, people get arrested on Capitol for protests, this, that, and the other, and they got to have a place to put them. I never have actually, I don't know where that would be. Within the police department, they got offices there on Capitol Hill. But wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be a dog and pony show. I mean, that would make Henry Jr., look like a Girl Scout, man, going to get the attorney general and dragging him back in for a trial. So I don't know that. I don't think this is going to pass. I don't think that the Speaker of the House wants to go quite this far with it. But I think Congress should have those tapes, and I think they're well within their rights to ask for them. And if the Department of Justice is not going to carry out and enforce a contempt citation or prosecute a contempt citation that's handed down by Congress because it involves their own boss, then I think I would love to see them try this. I really would. That would be something. All but one Republican voted this month to hold Garland in contempt, a resolution that acts as a referral to the Justice Department, which then weighs whether any criminal charges are warranted. The reason that they said that the Attorney General Merrick Garland could not be prosecuted, which was the weirdest thing I've seen come out of the Department of Justice in a while. They said, well, the recordings are covered by presidential executive immunity. No, I don't think that's right at all. I mean, when a president claims executive authority over something, saying, you can't prosecute me, I have executive privilege over this matter, that's generally when somebody has come to him and given him advice, and the idea is you can cover that for executive privilege. Otherwise, people would not be able to come into the Oval Office and speak freely to the president for fear that they're going to be hauled up on Capitol Hill on a contempt charge. So, they do give executive privilege over some things, but this is not a presidential document. This is an investigatory document. This is a piece of sound, a sound file of some kind that comes from an investigation of a special counsel. How does executive authority and executive privilege, how does that stand over this? I don't think it does at all. I think the Justice Department just doesn't want to handle the case, and they're looking for some way to make it all go away. But I don't think that's a good argument. Executive privilege is a very important thing for a president to have. But this document, under anything that I understand about how Washington works, is not covered by executive privilege. It's not a White House-generated document. And those documents would be, you could say, executive privilege, and that'd be the end of it. So I don't know how this is all going to play out. I doubt that they're going to go drag Merrick Garland by the scruff of the neck and drag him back to Capitol Hill. But boy, wouldn't that be fun? I think it'd be great. In the meantime, I wonder if the threat of this will make the folks over at the Department of Justice think twice about whether they want to bring a case or how they want to handle this particular. Or maybe they'll just cough up the sound, and we'll all be done. That would solve the problem, wouldn't it? Give Capitol Hill the sound, and then you're done. You don't have to worry about it anymore. This is going to be fun to watch. I don't know whether she'll get the votes or not, but if she did, oh my goodness, that would be a day that would go down in the annals of history, I promise you. It is now 50 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. King & Associates Insurance in Brentwood has been around for some 25 years as an independent insurance agency. And that's what you want. You say, well, why do I want an independent agency? Well, if you just go to one of these insurance companies that does business on the internet, and a lot of people do that. If you do that, basically you take whatever they got. Here's the product we have. We'll take this square peg and we'll try to put it into the round hole. Okay, so that's what they do. At an independent agency, they don't have to do that. They can shop around. They have a bunch of different companies from whom they can buy. They can shop here. They can look around. Oh, here's the one you want. This gives you the most bang for your insurance buck. And so, that only happens at an independent agency. The other thing I love is that they have great customer service. If you call this number, 615-329-8121, You don't reach a call center. You talk to an actual person. A real human being will answer the phone every time to solve whatever problem, put you in contact with it. If they can't solve it, they'll find somebody who can. You won't be getting a recording. Kings of the multi-policy discount, 20, 25, 30, 35%. Huge savings are possible if you can bundle, and they know how to do that to the perfection. They can really find you a good deal. Why don't you get your royal review with King & Associates? Just log on to tkinginsurance.com. That's tkinginsurance.com. King Insurance & Associates, royal treatment and great rates.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Good evening. It is 6 p.m. and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Still a good bit of sunshine. We're down, quote unquote, to 91 degrees. Still pretty darn hot. The latest traffic report and weather forecast are coming up. The United States accusing Iran of flagrantly violating the terms of the Iran nuclear deal during a United Nations Security Council meeting today in New York. President Trump pulled the U.S. out of the nuclear treaty and reimposed sanctions on Iran back in 2018. The Biden administration has said it would re-enter the agreement if Iran returned to compliance. But U.S. Ambassador Robert Wood, alternative representative to the United Nations, says Iran's actions show that it has no intentions to comply with nuclear monitors.
Iran should take actions that build international confidence and de-escalate tensions, not continue nuclear activities that pose grave proliferation risks.
To no one's surprise, lawsuits are being filed to block a controversial new law in Louisiana. Here's ABC's Daria Albinger with details.
The American Civil Liberties Union, Americans United for Separation of Church and State, and the Freedom from Religion Foundation were joined by parents of Louisiana public school children suing to stop a law that requires the Ten Commandments be prominently displayed in every public school classroom and at state-funded universities starting next year. The plaintiffs say the measure is unconstitutional. Supporters say the Ten Commandments are foundational documents of Louisiana's state and the federal government.
Back in Tennessee, a suspect is dead after a reported shooting inside an office building today in Chattanooga, according to the Chattanooga Police Department. That suspect, who they say died by suicide, quote, had a plan, according to authorities. Here's Chattanooga Police Department spokesman Sergeant Victor Miller.
What information that we know? A shooter was inside the building and was attempting to execute a plan. That failed. We found that he shot himself and he is deceased.
Chattanooga police didn't specify whether that plan that they referenced included hurting other people or whether shots were fired at anyone. Police said no one else was hurt, though, and no other information has been released. Finally, a quick programming note. We will indeed be airing the presidential debate between President Biden and former President Trump this Thursday night. The debate is set to air at 8 o'clock, right after the live radio event at Hop Springs and Murfreesboro. It all happens here on Thursday night on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Good afternoon, everybody. 6 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Well, actually, we decided, I don't know, this time of year it seems weird to say evening. I mean, it's not going to get dark for a couple more hours.
Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? Yeah. But I mean, 6 o'clock.
It is evening. It is 6 o'clock. It is evening. Good evening. Glad you're with us. We struggle with that. All right, who's we? It's me. I struggle with it.
Just pick something. I don't know.
Drag you into my crazy. Why would I do that? But we want to talk this hour about the upcoming debate. As you know, we'll be doing a thing at Hop Springs, Murfreesboro. Hope that you can come join us. And there is a bit of news today. We are going to actually be able to carry the debate. We didn't think we were going to be able to because it's CNN and there were issues with getting the authority to run the said debate. But our program director, Paul Mason, has worked that out and somehow got clearance to carry the debate. Paul Mason is our program director. He's not on the air. He's a behind-the-scenes guy.
That's right.
Yeah, and in D.C., we had a program director who wasn't on the air. His name was Bill Hess. And every time that we talked about Bill Hess, we had to play his theme, which was basically the Darth Vader theme. We call... Pum, 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 pum.
Yeah.
And he sort of took it. But we should come up with a theme for Paul Mason.
Yeah, somehow that one I don't think would work for Paul.
No, I mean, because he's too nice.
Yeah.
At least, I mean, so far, that's my sense of him.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should cross him and see what he does.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't had to yell at me or anything yet, so, maybe I'll have a different opinion when that happens. But anyway, he worked it out so that we're going to be able to carry the debate, and we're very excited about that. So our event will start at 3 o'clock with the drive in Hop Springs. All the guys, we'll have Dan and Chris and Matt will join me in the at least in the 6 o'clock hour, and then we're going to go all the way up to the debate begins at 8 o'clock, and then we'll just hand it over to the debate and let it play out. It is not an understatement to say that this debate is hugely important. The whole election could be decided on this debate. If Joe Biden has a bad moment, as a senior moment, as he does, from time to time. I mean, I don't want to wear this out, but remember... That's him trying to remember the name of his Secretary of Homeland Security. Secretary...
Is that first or last name?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. It's just bizarre. If he has that moment on the debate stage, it's pretty much over because millions of people will be watching. And he'll never recover from it, I don't think. So this is the one. There aren't many things that seem to be changing or moving the needle on this election, but that would be one. And how should Trump handle it all? I love what Matt Vespa has written over at townhall.com. I'm not going to read it all, but I'm going to read parts of it because I think he's exactly on the money. Democrats have got him up at Camp David right now. And he'll be there by the time it comes time for the election. He will have been there 7 days. He is not returning to the White House until after the debate. How about that, huh? But one of the things that they're apparently trying to find out is, can he actually stand at a podium for 90 minutes? Not a good thing if he can't stand for 90 minutes. If he starts to get tired toward the end of the thing. So that's one of the things they're trying to figure out. How do we get him strong enough to stand for 90 minutes and not get tired and start making mistakes? But how should Trump handle it is the question. And Matt Vespa has I think a dead-on suggestion. And I'm going to read it for you because I 1,000% agree with this. I hope Trump destroys Biden, but with graceful brutality. Don't interrupt or be overly aggressive, which was Trump's mistake during the first debate in the 2020 election. And I agree with that. The wind is already at your back, Mr. Trump. Let Biden talk because there's a good chance he'll short circuit. Let Biden make his shoddy talking points about how he's a job creator, then line by line calmly eviscerate these points. It is Trump's debate to lose. All the former president has to show is that he's energetic, can throw and take punches, and take down his opponent in a presidential way, a presidential manner. Think about Reagan's, well, there you go again, or how he expertly destroyed the talking points from Mondale about his age in the 84 debate. You remember that? It was a classic moment. It is a classic moment. If Joe Biden tries to pull that stunt, it's going to fall flat, by the way. It's a moment where Mondale admitted he knew he had lost the election. And Vespa continues, as much as I would love an ad hominem attack, refrain from attacking and let the old man spews lies that covers his thin, unremarkable presidency that's been marred by incompetence, chaos, and abject failure. And if Biden has a brain fart, don't get too excited. Just carry on as if nothing happened. The voters already know Biden is too old. Let his own faults and mental health failures be broadcast uninterrupted to the tens of millions watching Trump's reserved disposition in not attacking during such a situation might even win over some moderates who are, again, fence-sitting due to the former president's bull in a china closet reputation. Prove them wrong. Trump tried throwing haymakers 24/7 4 years ago, and it hurt him a lot more than it helped him. Still, Biden needs to practice standing without kneeling over and keeling over. We're supposed to believe that this is the man who can do this job. I have a feeling it's going, he says, badly at Camp David. I don't know. We'll see how that all works out. I think that's pretty good advice. And by the way, CNN, which is the host of the debate, it'll be Jake Tapper and Dana Bash will be the moderators of the debate. And the Trump organization, the Trump campaign has already put them on, and they've sort of on the defensive by a little stunt that got pulled this weekend. Cassie Hunt doing her show. She has Caroline Levitt, who speaks on behalf of the Trump campaign, on the show. And she tried to bring up some talking points about how the CNN has a reputation for trying to compare Trump to Hitler. And she tried to bring it up. And it just didn't go well. She ended up cutting short the interview and moving on.
What do you expect from Joe Biden?
Well, first of all, it takes someone 5 minutes to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, to see that Jake Tapper has consistently,
we're going to stop this interview if you're going to keep
President
attacking
Trump
my colleagues.
Adolf Hitler.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
Yes.
If you are here to speak on his behalf,
I
am willing to have this conversation.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay.
Now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Caroline, thank you very much for your time. You are welcome to come back at any point. She is welcome to come back and speak about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump will have equal time to Joe Biden when they both join us now at later this week in Atlanta for this debate. Arthur.
Well, she got rattled there at the end. Seemed like she was upset, and sort of couldn't even spit out the words to close the segment out. And she walked right into it. I mean, the Trump people laid the trap, and she walked right into it. I mean, it's Admiral Akbar worthy. It was a trap. It's a trap. And they walked right into it because now Trump has let it be known. This is getting a lot of coverage, a lot of play. And now Trump, enters the debate as a more sympathetic character. Well, he's going up against not only Biden, but he's also going up against the moderators who have compared him to Hitler in the past. And the truth is, they have compared him to Hitler.
So the erosion of basic standards of civility and human decency continues. It's not just a Republican phenomenon, but we are being led down the drain by President Trump.
Let's recognize this comment for what it is, a long-standing anti-Semitic trope that the true allegiance for Jews is to their religion rather than their country. It was used in Nazi Germany to justify the arrests, persecutions, and mass killings, attempted extermination of the Jewish people. And Trump has been pushing this trope for years.
The dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler is once again alive and well on a national political stage, this time given life by former president and current Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump.
I mean, they were absolutely parroting the words of the White House.
Talks about the blood of America as being poisoned, echoing the same exact language used in Nazi Germany.
Oh, my gosh. So, they walked right into it. Now Trump walks in, and it does two things. It makes them be defensive. It gives Trump sort of a sympathetic, he's sort of a sympathetic character going into the debates. But it also puts the two moderators sort of on notice that, we're accusing you of not being fair. You better be fair. So, and they're going to be on their best behavior because, people are going to be watching for them to do what everybody expects that they would do. So there's that. I think that it was a brilliant move. Cassie Hunt screwed it up big time. She walked right into the Trump trap, and all she had to do was let her have her say, and then moved on to the next question without overreacting. But she overreacted, really did. And as it stands, Trump goes into the debate with a little bit of an edge. I think. What kind of edge will Joe Biden have? Dr. Ronnie Jackson is a member of Congress from the state of Texas. He's also a former White House physician. And he's been asking a lot of questions about what did they do? How do they juice Joe Biden up for these kind of events like they did at the State of the Union? He's asking a lot of questions.
I have sent 5 letters previously asking for President Biden to submit to a cognitive test, very similar to the one that President Trump got while he was president. And all 5 of those letters have gone completely ignored. So tomorrow I'm sending a letter to President Biden, to his physician, Dr. O'Connor, and I'm CCing his entire cabinet. And it's embarrassing that I have to do this, and it's really embarrassing as a former White House physician to have to do something like this, but we don't have any choice based on what's going on. But I'm going to be demanding on behalf of many millions of concerned Americans right now that he submit to a drug test before and after this debate, specifically looking for performance-enhancing drugs. Because we've seen recently in his State of the Union address that there was a Joe Biden that came out that was not similar at all to what we see on a day-to-day basis for the last 3.5 years. And there's just really no way to explain that other than he was on something, that they'd given him medications. I feel like this is probably what's going on over this week at Camp David. He's going to be at Camp David for a full week before the debate. Part of that is probably experimenting with, just getting the doses just right because, they have to treat his cognition. They have to give him something to help him think straighter. They have to give him something to wake him up, for his alertness. And then, he's been agitated. We see that all the time, and that's a common symptom or sign of this cognitive disorder that he seems to be suffering from. And so they're probably going to give him something to take the edge off that as well.
All right. Well, it would be interesting to see which Biden shows up at that debate. Meanwhile, former President Trump says he knows who his running mate will be. Asked whether he had made his pick already, former President Donald Trump told NBC, in my mind, yeah. The former president added that the person most likely will be at his first debate with President Joe Biden on the 27th, this Thursday. They'll be there. I think we have a lot of people coming. But as of right now, former President Trump added nobody knows who he has selected. Recently, former President Trump listed 6 finalists to be his running mate. They're being vetted, which means they'll be doing the deep research on their backgrounds. They are Senators J.D. Vance of Ohio, Tim Scott of South Carolina, Marco Rubio, a Republican of Florida, as well as Governor Ron DeSantis, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, and Dr. Ben Carson. Those are said to be the people who are being vetted, doing the deep background, deep research. So we'll see if any of those turn out to be it. I mean, I don't know. A lot of people have other ideas, but these are the ones who apparently have received the vetting documents. You have to fill out they're endless. You got to go way back, and you got to fill out all of the questionnaires, and so that they can dig into anything that might be out there. They don't want to be surprised. So, CNN State of the Union, Mr. Burgum, seen as the front runner, according to at the Epoch Times, opined that ultimately former president's vice presidential choice will have little impact on the outcome. Yeah, I think the vice presidential running mate thing is a bigger thing for Biden than it is for Trump, quite frankly. Just do. Very quickly. Well, I need to take a break here, but when I come back, there are a few numbers that I want to share with you, and a bit more election 2024 news. Right now, it's 21 past the hour. What was it like the last time you were at an auto repair shop? Was it stinky, smelly, greasy old rags lying around, a filthy countertop that you wouldn't dare touch? Another thing that stinks is the repair shop that keeps your car forever. They're not honest. They don't call you back when they say they will. If that was your last experience at a vehicle repair shop, well, why don't you think about Eurofix? Eurofix can take the stink out of European auto repair. At Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection with an estimate at every visit. No high-pressure sales tactics. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. Never pay dealer prices. Eurofix now available in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and their newest facility in Mount Juliet, right on Mount Juliet Road across from the Dairy Queen. Call 844-EUROFIX, that's 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com, and tell them your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson sent you.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Hunter Biden trying to have his gun conviction overturned, and we will have today's closing money news. That's on the way at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
26 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. We're continuing our discussion about the 2024 election. We got so much news, we can't get it all into one segment. I want to just give you some quick numbers, not much here, but I do think it's interesting. CBS News general election number, they have Trump up by 1, and that's pretty consistent. But again, we don't we don't elect presidents by popular vote. We elect them through the Electoral College process. And here's what I would say about that. Look at what's happening with Real Clear Politics average of polls. Their numbers are going up for Trump. In the two-way general election number, Trump leads by 0.9. That's an average of all the polls, and Trump has a slight lead. And I think that's probably pretty accurate. I think in the popular vote, it's going to be very, very close. Five-way, if you look, that's just a two-way, Trump versus Biden, 0.9. He leads by 0.9. If you look at the five-way matchup, that's where Trump, Biden, RFK, West, and Stein, he leads by 2.2. So having those other candidates in the mix hurts Biden more than it hurts Trump. And he leads in a five-way matchup by 2.2. But this is the number that matters, and it's going up slightly, ever so slightly. When you're averaging polls, they don't go up that quick. But the battleground polls have Trump on average across the 6 or 7 battleground states up by 3.4. That's good news right there, because that's what you got to watch, the battleground states. I will say Real Clear Politics has finally heeded what I've been saying. They've added Virginia to the battleground list. I think they should be adding Minnesota. Most pollsters look at Minnesota as a blue state, but I think you have to say Virginia and Minnesota, well, it's very, very close. According to new polls, Trump is in the lead to secure Minnesota, resulting in the Biden campaign panicking over the president's diminishing chances to win in November. This according to townhall.com. Emerson College polling, the Hill poll, states that found the Minnesota State poll found that Trump holds a slight advantage over President Joe Biden in 6 swing states and tied in Minnesota at 45% each. In our first polling in several key swing states, Trump's conviction last month seems to have had no impact, says Spencer Kimball, executive director of Emerson College polling. I think maybe it has affected a few independent votes, but it doesn't seem to be moving the needles very much. A recent memo from the Trump campaign reveals that they are expanding their ground game in Minnesota. They've signed 8 leases for offices for campaign staff. In addition, the addition of Minnesota and Virginia to the Electoral College map opens up, are you ready for this? At least 12 additional pathways to get to 270. The number of electoral votes needed to win, of course. If Trump takes home the gold in Minnesota, he would be the first Republican to win the state since Richard Nixon in 1972. He came close in 2016, but lost it by a hair to Democrat challenger Hillary Clinton. Here's what Frank Luntz, he's a real smart guy. Here's what he said about it. That media undermining Trump's triumph in Minnesota shows that the media doesn't understand what is happening in the political landscape regarding polls. I don't think the media understands exactly what's going on right now. Yes, Trump dropped a little bit after being found guilty on 34 felony counts. But remember, this would have been any candidate as recently 10 years ago, it would have destroyed them. And the fact that Donald Trump is still even, or in some cases leading Joe Biden after being found guilty of 34 felonies, well, I think that's quite remarkable, don't you? I do. I think it is. I don't see a lot of movement, except maybe among a few independent voters. So everybody's going to be looking now. The fact that Biden has to defend Minnesota, the fact that Biden now has to defend Virginia, means that he's in trouble. And Democrats, they can't put lipstick on this pig. It's just starting to look bad for this campaign if you look at the numbers. And again, focus not on the general election number, but on the battleground number. And now, time to check in with the news. Here it's now at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7.
We just turned over to 6:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Sun still and 90 degrees. A full forecast and other traffic report are coming up. Hunter Biden trying to have his federal gun conviction overturned on a technicality. ABC's Andy Field, he's reporting from Washington.
In the appeal, Hunter Biden's lawyers are not arguing there was anything wrong with his trial or conviction. Instead, they're asking for a new trial because the last one began before a circuit court had formally denied his appeal. The president's son's lawyers also arguing that the recent Supreme Court decision that continued a ban on firearms for people under domestic violence restraining orders should also require a new trial, saying Hunter Biden had no restraining order and should have been able to purchase a weapon.
Turning now to our closing money news with Daria Albinger.
From ABC News, Wall Street now stocks closed mixed to start the week. The Dow was up 261 points, the S&P off 17. The NASDAQ falling 193, tech stocks taking a bit of a beating thanks to that continued slide by tech heavyweight NVIDIA, which is keeping the indices in check. Car dealerships across North America continue to do business old school using pen and paper to close deals after back-to-back cyber attacks last week led to outages. The White House is taking steps to increase access to affordable housing, announcing a series of federal initiatives that are designed to combat high prices, lack of inventory, and rising mortgage rates. European Union regulators are accusing Apple of breaking new rules on digital competition by imposing rules in its App Store, which don't point users to cheaper options on other venues. UPS is selling its freight brokerage business to Coyote Logistics for less than it paid for it in 2015.
And that quick programming note, we will indeed be airing the presidential debate between President Biden and former President Trump this Thursday night. The debate set to air at 8 o'clock our time. That'll be right after a live radio event at Hop Springs in Murfreesboro. It all happens here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. And I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Let me tell you about the good folks over at Restoration Wellness and Med Spa. Listen, the team there will help you achieve your goals. They are the leader in weight loss management in Wilson County. Just call the Restoration Wellness team today at 615-470-8124 or visit them at their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com, to book a consultation today. Now, my friends, Carly and Jamie, I can tell you because I'm a client there. I go there, and they've been helping me with my weight issues, and it's working. They will take really good care of you, just like you're one of their own. Be a part of the 1,000 patients who've already seen life-changing results from the weight loss management program there. Weight loss can increase your energy levels, improve your quality of sleep, enhance your overall health. They have customized treatment plans. It's not a one-size-fits-all proposal. They'll talk to you about your individual needs, your lifestyle, your goals, and then they'll come up with a plan that works for you. So whether your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. That's right. Learn all about the newest technology in weight loss management. Just go to their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days, no home inspections, No lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
.38 minutes now past the hour. We got 22 minutes to go before we hand it over to Mark Levin, the great one. He'll carry on through the rest of the evening, and as he always does. You don't want to miss Mark Levin. Get his take right after the drive is over, after the news at 7 o'clock. We have a couple of breaking stories. Number one, this is interesting. Julian Assange, the WikiLeaks founder, has apparently reached some kind of plea deal to avoid prison time in the United States. He has spent 5 years in a British prison fighting extradition to the U.S. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has entered into a plea deal for his alleged role in a government data breach as part of an agreement with the Justice Department that will allow him to avoid imprisonment, according to newly filed federal court documents. This report comes from FoxNews.com. Assange will plead guilty to one count of conspiring to obtain and disclose information related to the national defense in the U.S. federal court in Saipan in the Northern Mariana Islands, a U.S. Commonwealth and Pacific this week, according to newly filed court papers. Assange spent 5 years in a British prison, as I mentioned, fighting extradition to the United States. So that story just now breaking. Here's another take on it from justthenews.com. The plea deal would seek a 62-month sentence, which would count as time served because he was imprisoned in London. All right, so there you have that. We'll continue to watch that and see if anything more develops out of that. But Julian Assange apparently cutting a deal. Melania Trump. There's a report from Axios, and being reported and carried by others as well. Mostly it's reporting on the Axios report. Former First Lady Melania Trump could be headed back to the White House if former President Donald Trump wins the November election. But she may not reside there full time. Melania would likely split most of her time between Palm Beach, Florida, and New York, according to a report from Axios. The former first couple have been living at Mar-a-Lago in the Sunshine State since they left the White House in January of 2021. The report suggests Melania would visit the White House to attend ceremonial matters, such as special events or state dinners, but would not live there full time. That's, I don't have any problem with that. There are a lot of couples who live, and are, they have relationships that are, long distance relationships, and somehow they make it work. During her husband's first term, she did not move to the White House initially, so as not to interrupt her son Barron's school year. Barron was 10 at the time of his father's inauguration in January of 2017. So there you go. Word that Melania will not necessarily move full-time to the White House, but will split her time. Her focus is on Barron, and there's nothing wrong with that. Barron's about to go off to college, and I think there's some talk he might go to a college in New York. So we'll see what happens there. This just came out from thehill.com. Former President Trump's decision on a vice presidential running mate. Trump allies and sources close to the former president's orbit said North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio, and Senator Marco Rubio of Florida are considered the likeliest picks at this point, though a handful of others have received vetting material, and Trump could still make a surprising choice. I don't know how it all shakes out, but I'm fairly confident it ends up being one of those three, said one Trump ally to thehill.com. So there you go. I mean, I think that's probably right. You hear through the grapevine that Burgum has the lead. Then you hear other things that from time to time. I don't know. I still wouldn't be shocked if Trump throws everybody for a loop. He's not going to make the announcement until the convention. Usually it's made just before, or sometimes it's made just before. He's not going to make it until they're actually into the convention. It'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. We're not that far away from the convention. It is July 15th through the 19th. The Democrats are doing it in August 19th through the 23rd. That's very late. And this is wow. I'm glad that I don't live in L.A. Taxpayers spend $600,000 per unit for a homeless high-rise in L.A. They're building. It's a beautiful building if the drawing is any indication. A new high-rise residential tower for the homeless that cost $600,000 per unit to build will be opened soon, or it may be open now already in downtown Los Angeles. Local ABC affiliate KABC reported. 270 units in the 19-story development known as the Weingart Tower, designed to help people currently without shelter on Skid Row, will be the largest permanent support housing project. We'll have an entire off-floor of offices for caseworkers, in addition to a list of impressive amenities like a gym, an art room, a music room, a computer room, and a library. Sounds like it's more swank than the place I lived in when I first came to Nashville. I lived just a couple of blocks from the station there. It's considered affordable housing, but not to the taxpayers because it cost them $600 a unit. The cost to build each unit in the homeless high-rise is higher than the median price of a condominium in Los Angeles, which was $564,520 at the end of 2023. The median listing price for a single-family detached home in Los Angeles was higher. A median home in Los Angeles cost you $1.3 million. So, again, your tax dollars at work if you're in Los Angeles, $600,000 a unit. You know that I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude when I say this, but people who live on the street, are they going to take care of the place or are they going to trash it? I mean, you're going from living on the street to a $600,000 unit condominium in a high rise. What could possibly go wrong with this? I don't know, but golly. Whew. Some Wall Street banks worried that landlords of vacant and struggling office buildings won't be able to pay off their mortgages and apparently have begun offloading their portfolios of commercial real estate loans, hoping to cut their losses. It's an early but telling sign of the broader distress brewing in the commercial real estate market, which is hurting from the twin punches of high interest rates, which makes it harder to refinance loans, and low occupancy rate for office buildings, an outcome of the pandemic. And that is really true. I wonder sometimes about Nashville, whether this is happening in Nashville, and that, there are a lot of people. I mean, those people. What do you say about those people who don't have to come downtown to work anymore? That they cut some kind of deal, some kind of sweetheart deal, so that they could work from home.
Those people.
Oh, my. Apparently a lot of people after the pandemic, they realized, I got a friend who lives down the road here. He doesn't go in very often. I got an office downtown. I won't mention the name of the company, but because I haven't talked to him, asked him whether I could talk about this or not. But he works at home out here, not far from where I live. And there's a lot of people like that who found out, I don't have to be in the office to be productive. In fact, many people have found they can be more productive when they're not in the office. No distractions. And so they end up being more efficient employees. Well, the end of the result of it is you don't need as much office space. A lot of companies have reduced the amount of office space they have since we don't need as much as we once had. And so then what happens? Well, we got a lot of buildings going up that, a lot of that is office space. You got to wonder if eventually the banks that finance that office space, if they can't fill them, they're going to be in trouble. Goldman Sachs sold loans it held on a portfolio of troubled office buildings in New York, San Francisco, and Boston. And in May, Canadian lender CIBC completed the sale of $300 million worth of mortgages on a collection of office buildings around the country. What you're seeing right now are one-offs, said Nathan Stovall, director of financial institutions research for S&P Global Market Intelligence. He said the banks are looking to shrink their exposure. And, they're smart to do so. But what does that mean for cities down the line? I wonder about that. I do wonder about that. Home prices, meanwhile, continue to go up. This is the amazing thing. Interest rates have gone up, and it's really expensive to get a mortgage right now. You know that story, and everybody's wondering when are rates going to come down. I don't think we're going to see any rate cuts until probably around Christmas, but who knows? We'll maybe get some word on that tomorrow, actually. But you would think that if houses are moving slowly, that the prices of the housing might come down. People might say, well, I can't move this thing, so I had to bring the price down. It's not happening. It's just not happening. Prices for existing homes rose to an average of $419,300 in May. Now, that's the nationwide average. And some places around here, I think you could probably get a modest house for $400,000 in some of our suburbs. Certainly in parts of Nashville, that would be impossible. That's a record going back to 1999. The National Association of Realtors said Friday, prices aren't adjusted for inflation. That's basically prices on homes have gone up almost 6% in a year. So if you have a house, this is good news because your value has not dropped. It's gone up about 5.8%. That's great news, isn't it? But at the end of the day, if you want to sell that house, you may be in for a long wait. It is now 50 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. What can I say about the folks over at D.T. McCall and Sons, a great company that has been in business in Middle Tennessee for more than a century, more than 100 years. They have grown to 5 locations in Middle Tennessee, and if you need furniture, if you need appliances, if you need, a mower, I got my mower there, and I love it. You can get a Cub Cadet mower. It'll get the job done. I promise you're going to love that. Whatever it is you need for your home, you're going to find it at D.T. McCall's. And here's the deal. The reason that they have survived for so long is 2 reasons. Number one, they deal with you honestly. They're going to give you a good price on anything that you want to buy there. It'll be a good price, and it'll be an honest price. They won't charge you more for delivery or setup or haul away. That's what you want, right? And then the other thing I think is really good about them and makes them so attractive, you want to do business with them, is that they, whenever possible, sell products that are made and manufactured right here in Middle Tennessee. I mean, it's a Tennessee company that does business with other Tennessee companies. Why wouldn't you want to keep your dollars local, right? Makes sense, doesn't it? To find out about their 5 convenient locations and all the things they can do to help you set up your home, make it a perfect place to live, furniture, appliances, whatever, just go to their website, dtmccalls.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.